everybody. Welcome to the Thursday Night Forum, where we get together and we talk about Arsenal. How about that? You know, and the season that we've had. I think Stan is out with his missus, so we won't see Stan tonight. But we have Tony here. We have Gary. Welcome, gentlemen. How we doing?
Doing good.
All right. As always, appreciate you being here, Tony. I think you're. Did we hear you, Tony? You
Probably.
sound. Oh, there you go. Yeah. I saw your
Cool.
lips moving, but I didn't hear anything. You know. Hopefully you're doing well as
Oh,
well,
Jesus.
Tony. Cold Jesus. All right. Here we go. BX Gunner. BX Gunner is now Melissa Marquez. I call him GK, right? Not BX. BX Gunner was locked out of his account a few weeks ago, and now he's a double agent. Evening, everyone. Um, Gabrielle Gabriel Martinelli just got married, right? I didn't hear about that. Shows his maturity and the kind of players we need. Mature, hard workers. Maybe Megalash. You'll have
Yeah.
to BX. Let us know which one it is. BX.
See, there's
Megalash or
Gabrielle, there's Martinelli, and then there's Jesus. So there's only one Gabrielle. So
okay, so it's Megalash. Okay.
yeah.
Mature, hard workers, family men, and not out partying. Yes, the NBA finals kicked off. I don't know. I have a slight interest for the Nuggets.
Yeah, I can
Just
see everybody
because
going for the Nuggets.
it
See, I'm a
might
hate
just.
I'm a hate fan, but
Yeah, I wanted the Heat to beat the Boston Celtics, so I like Jimmy Butler. Yeah,
Jimmy Butler, yeah.
give us something different than bloody Philip Schofield. Okay, edgy, Sam. Definitely. All right, Gary, we're going to get into the squad review. And, I was talking to Tony earlier. It reminds me of, was it 3 years ago? We went through a squad review together.
Yep.
Was it 3 years ago?
I think let's see. One. Yeah, it probably is. It's probably just under
When's your
3 years.
anniversary, Gary?
So, Gary, this is nothing new to you. We're going to go through the squad, and we're going to talk about them. And, we're going to have a little bit of fun while we're doing that as well.
So say hello.
Um,
Say hello to everyone. As you
exactly.
said, Gypsy Kitten, Sam woke up for a little bit. Stefan, even Stan's joining us he probably just snuck into the bathroom to say
Yeah,
hi.
yeah. He's like sneaking it.
Mr. Bungle has also joined us. Welcome. He's said this
Well, you
morning.
see, this is the slash time in UK.
That's what.
Apparently, all of the urinals are getting hit at 1:30 in the morning. So, welcome, Mr. Bungle. It's morning here in the UK. Listen, however you come and join us, we always appreciate it. Bungle is here, and Stan said, I tried to eat cheeses when I moved to North America, but they smelled too much like a pair of Tramps old socks. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get into. Let's talk about the contract a little bit, Gary, about Saliba. Let's start off with Saliba, the contract.
Yeah. Well, if rumors are to be true, the offer, which I think some people are saying it's not even the offer, because who knows? As we say, this is a crazy time of year. If the offer was 120, then that's a slap in the face. I'm not sure why Arsenal hasn't finished this off. This should have been done a long time ago. It wasn't as if they knew he wasn't going to be playing for the rest of the season, so it wasn't going to distract from his playing if they were talking about this prior to, because they do it probably under the I don't know what you call it, but
Auspices.
yeah, behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Reverend Knight, welcome to the show.
With
So
the
I
understanding.
think they just need to get it done. If he has a back problem, then that's the only reason why you would be hesitating. And if you're hesitating, then nobody's going to pick him up. But if that's not the reason, that thing should have been. We just don't have the time to be dealing with that while we've got bigger, as they say, bigger fish to fry. But no, we have bigger fish out there that we want to catch, right? We've got a couple of midfielders that would be nice to get, and one of the best young center backs in the world essentially, you probably want to just sign him up. And they could have done this, as somebody said. They typically, why are they waiting until the last year, right? Once
Yeah,
again, within 2 years, you should be looking to sign your young players. And it wasn't as if he didn't come in with receipts, right? He was playing really well at at where is it, Marseille?
Marseille.
Marseille, right? So it wasn't as if they did not see tape, right? He was looking
Hmm.
really good there. So there was no reason to say, well, he looking like promising? Yeah, he looks promising for sure. And then he comes and backs it up with the way he played the season. Arsenal, they're just it's disappointing once again. They keep disappointing us for no reason. Pay the man and let's move on. As somebody
Um,
as a big says here, pay him or sell him. Same way.
yes,
If you're
yeah,
gonna pay somebody, then you play them. If you're not gonna pay them, then you sell them. If you're not gonna play them, then you sell them. It's really easy. This thing's really
yeah.
easy.
And look, you're right. You're right, Gary. It could be the press not exactly reporting correctly. When Eddie and Nketiah is on 120, the agents did the madness for Eddie and Nketiah at 100,000, and
Yes,
Saliba, the reports are 120. I gotta believe it's a little bit. It's got to be closer to 200.
it has to be.
Has to be the real numbers. I mean, there's no way that Saliba's um,
What-
entourage would be interested
What's
in the
Gabrielle
120
on?
region. Oh, Tony,
So what's Gabrielle getting paid right now?
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't think it's as close to 200 as as Saka.
Stan said we should sit down with Saliba and present him with a blank check on the proviso that he recovers fully from his back injury. Because if we don't pay him the big bucks, someone else will. And we're getting into that situation now where we have a number of our first 11, first 12
Yeah,
are starting to look to renew their deals as well. Alonso,
yeah,
welcome. So Gary, we have to start tying down
yeah.
these players who are going to be the mainstay of our next season coming up.
Yeah, I don't know what player is going to sign a contract that's dependent on him being healthy. I don't see that happening. Like if the team's not going to take a chance in a player, definitely will just take a chance and go. You know what? If you don't pay me, then I'll just hang on, and if I'm feeling good, I'll get to choose where I go. Right. So it's in Arsenal's best interest to just go ahead and sign the man because
Yeah, the
They,
Revenite
yeah,
and
I don't
Liverpool.
think they really have a choice. They let it go too long, and this is what happens. I mean, I don't understand. They're like one wasting time, and now they have to spend extra money. If that's the case, deal should have been done a long time ago.
Everyone remember Gabrielle, the artist from a few years back. She
Mm,
had an eye patch as one of her things, a
mm.
British artist. Don't know what Gabrielle is on, but she can afford an eye patch, so dreams can come true. I get that one. I get that one. Maybe this side of the pond, Gary, you may not have seen Gabrielle,
Yeah, I didn't know what that
female
meant.
artist. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think so. I think this is much ado about nothing really. Saliba will probably be presented with a reasonably good transfer renewal, and we'll move on from there. And the Revenite, you will not be able to take Saliba because we definitely do want him at our club, and he really transformed our season as well. But Gary, let's start with we're going to get into the squad review now. You remember this? Let's start with the goalkeeper. So what do you think about our goalkeeper core for this past season?
Yeah, no, well, I think Ramsdale, he's looked good. Turner, I believe, has done a job. I wonder about him because I just wonder like, does the number one goalkeeper for U.S. should he be sitting on a bench in professional football? It doesn't sound right, right? It doesn't sound right. I mean, at some point they're gonna have to go get ready for the World Cup again. Does it sound right that he doesn't play but like
Mhm.
10 games a season, that doesn't really. I can't see that working. He can't. He needs to be playing football all the time. So for his sake, he should be looking to move on. He's shown that he can do a job. He's shown that he doesn't need some. He's got some things to work on, but he's pretty good at what he does. So I feel like they need to. They need to really and truly. He needs to probably leave, not because he's doing bad, but because he
Yeah.
needs more playing time.
Now, could he could probably stay another season with us, and just to catch up on the Saliba stuff. BX said, "What has Saliba accomplished to command such a high fee?" He's been very consistent and played to a high level for us for most of the season.
And it
And
isn't one
probably-
season, right? I mean, this is his second season now playing professional football, and he
Mhm.
did really well. He was part of the first 11 for in the Liga, I think.
Ligue 1
All
under
right.
with Marseille.
I think he was one of the center backs, if not one of the center backs, one of the best young players they had. And then he did it again for Arsenal.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, yeah, it seems really early, but all of our players are young, so they're going to be like the fact that they're getting put in this position. What do? Let them go? You can't. You can't
No.
let them go. So
And
if you're gonna give the money this whole thing, I believe, starts with how you treated Nketiah. The man got a lot of money. He got his shirt
agents.
and all that. But I mean, from Arsenal's perspective, they
Sure.
did this. The agent is going to always try to get as much money for his client. That's his job.
Yeah.
But Arsenal has to look out for Arsenal, and I don't think they did that because I think Nketiah is causing them now to have to hold on to him when they don't probably want to. Also, maybe pay extra for some of their players because they can only look
Maybe
around and go.
Maybe he set a bar that other players
You
are
made me.
looking
We maybe
to.
go off on a tangent. We're talking about the goalkeepers, so stick
That's
to the
fine.
goalkeepers.
Yes, yes.
So Ramsdale, really good. Turner, I think needs to go. Hine, I think is just the British. It's just it's the quota thing. That's why he's around. I think Nkunku sounds like he might actually go. I think he might be able to go play football all the time. And they might sell him. I think is my understanding for that. But Ramsdale, really good. We've always seemed to have been good with the way we picked our goalkeepers when we brought him in. It'd be nice if we had a goalkeeper from the academy, because I think the academy is going to come up in every discussion we have. Is like, why do we not have a player from the academy for any of the positions that we have on the squad? It's been years now since a player from the academy has actually got a decent amount of minutes in the squad. But Kwanko looks like he could be.
Arteta doesn't want to take time with him, and it doesn't make any sense.
And it can't be, well, City doesn't do it, because I think I saw somebody list like 4 or 5 of the players from their academy, one being Phil Foden. So if Phil Foden can come through the City academy, we could have at least one, because we have. I mean, not to. I guess this is kind of. I guess is belittling him a little bit, but El Neni, Holding, players, even Cedric Cedric, players like that just aren't good enough for us, and they're getting opportunities, but the academy can't. I don't know, but yeah, goalkeepers, we did really good with the goalkeepers, like I said, and I think it would be for Turn. I don't know if he should be staying if he wants to be a number one goalkeeper for his country.
I think Turner will probably stay this season, but then he'll probably look for a move with the World Cup very quickly upon him, and he'll want to play some games. And I think the second goalkeeper, the reserve goalkeeper, it's always one of those positions that doesn't get played an awful lot unless you are in a dire situation where you have a long injury to a goalkeeper, to your first goalkeeper. And you look across the league, a lot of the second goalkeepers are not of the required standard to be first choice. But Matt Turner definitely could play somewhere as a first choice keeper.
No, that's what I mean. And I hear you, Alonso, but it's more for his career than it is anything. Yeah. I mean, I think he's still young, and he needs to play.
Stay for Arsenal.
He needs to stay for Arsenal, but for himself, he doesn't.
He needs to go.
He probably needs to go play some football elsewhere. I mean, that's like looking at Willock. It been good for him to stay with Arsenal, but for his career, he had to leave. That's probably the best thing for him because Newcastle actually played him. They could afford to play him. We weren't going to play him, so if you're a footballer in that situation, you leave.
Yeah,
Because it's not in
absolutely.
Arsenal's best interest to play you. I mean, we've shown that we won't do that. So,
Um,
you know.
Tony, your thoughts on your namesake, Matt Turner, and then we'll turn our attentions to Aaron Ramsdale.
I think he started off pretty good. Then we didn't really see him that much. I think for him, he's best out probably moving somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for him, it's going to be a situation where he probably will need to play eventually. But for Arsenal, we have a settled situation now in the goalkeeping ranks. Matt Turner. I thought in the Europa League he was getting some games, Tony. In the Europa League, he looked a little bit shaky in the early rounds.
Yeah.
Arteta's again, asking the goalkeeper to play out from the back, which is the modern era, right, Tony?
I hate it though.
He seemed a little bit uncomfortable with that playing out from the back at first, but then, he came to grips with it. And of course, we're going to remember the situation between Kivior and Matt Turner in that Europa League first leg.
Yeah, to me, if you need to boot the ball. It's dangerous passing your ball in front of your goalkeeper, especially with Saliba out. You got Gabriel. You had Rob Holding there. You had a new signing that hadn't adjusted to the Premier League yet. So I think you did a good job, but I think you might go look elsewhere. And
Yeah.
we might be looking for a better backup than him, too. So
What games is he going to play for Arsenal
He might play more. I
next
was just
season?
going to say
But
he's going to have.
When will he play?
When will he play?
Yeah.
The Carabao Cup for sure.
Yeah, but that's not worthy. That's not worth his time.
Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be a situation between the Champions League and the regular Premier League games.
Yeah, I feel so.
he should be able to play
What
for
part
group
of
stages of
Arteta do you
Champions
feel
League.
is ready to make that adjustment that I'm going to have to rotate? I have to rotate now.
I mean,
I
he may do it.
I can't sit Ramsdale out for a European game anymore. That's
No.
what he had. That's what he was able to do this
Yeah.
past season. But he can't, and then he can't then turn around and say, Ramsdale, you don't play against any of the top 10 teams, right? When we play them, and
Yeah,
who
I
knows
think
what that top 10 team is right now? We don't know.
I think if we're looking for Arteta to do that and be more open to rotating, it's probably not going to come in the goalkeeping position.
Well, that doesn't help Turner then.
Doesn't help Turner. No. So we'll probably see him, play some cup competitions, be there in the FA Cup as well. And these players, Turner's a squad player, and he will have a big role to play this season as well in the cup competition. We need to be going in 4 competitions next season and doing well into spring, if not in all 4 of them. So yeah, that's Turner. I think we can rely on him, but with any big team, you're going to worry if you get a major injury to your first choice goalkeeper.
We played 3 domestic cup games this past season. So like, whenever you bring that up, I'm like, that unless we go deep in them, it's not going to be. It won't. It's not enough games.
No, it's not. But the mindset has to be, Gary, that we're going to win. We're going to try to win every game. It's going to be more to what you wanted for Arsenal.
I wanted it. See, that's where it has to be for me. Day one, not 4 years down the road. Oh, okay, now we're going to play for all 4 of the trophies that are allotted to us. That's where I don't feel like. I feel like you just can't. It's not a switch you just flick on and that automatically now. All right, we can play on all 4 fronts when we haven't done that for like the last 3-4 years. with Arteta. So I just feel it's going to be another learning curve. I would like to believe it won't, but he's going to have to change, almost
Yeah, and
180 degrees from where he's been. So.
I think talking about Saliba as well and the injury that he incurred this season, he could have played games. He could have sat out games that we won, and we could win those games. Bournemouth away from home, we won 3-0. There was many games we were winning games, and we need to. The mindset for Arteta's got to be rotate a lot more and understand that these players.
He sat out most of a lot of the European games.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, it was Gabriel and Holding that played in those games. So he didn't actually play in a lot of those games. So it wasn't as if like we finally get into the knockout rounds, then he plays, he gets hurt, and then we're complaining that he shouldn't play. If you're not going to play him in the knockouts, then when you're going to play him,
Yeah.
If it was the same thing for the cups,
Yeah.
he eventually will be playing in the cup matches. What we don't play him in the later rounds of the cup games because he might get hurt. I think if you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. And I think a knockout round in the European Cup is probably okay to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Aaron Ramsdale. I was going to go to Tony, but I'll give him a second. Gary, I'll stick with you. Aaron Ramsdale. I asked for Aaron Ramsdale to show up, and because I didn't see a lot of it. When we were playing well, we had a lot of control in those games up until the end of January, let's say. We had a lot of control in games. We didn't see Aaron Ramsdale pull out those stops that we need a goalkeeper to make. I think we lost control we didn't control games as well in the run-in, especially those last 9 games. And so Aaron Ramsdale was called upon to make vital saves. And I would say his best game was probably at Anfield.
Yeah. I mean, he got lucky because they missed the penalty, right? But it's hard to tell because when we are playing well, he doesn't really have to do too much. A lot of the times, like, how often did we look at a game where he made some really, really good saves where we not winning in it? When we're winning in most games, he's not making those saves because we're clicking. So, when he needs to stand up, he's been doing that for us. As you said, in Anfield, he made the save on Salah, and that saved a point definitely. He's good. He's good on that. So I think for me, one of the things that he'll need to work on a little bit more is when we are as a team struggling, somebody needs to step up. Sometimes it's the goalkeeper, sometimes it's a defender, sometimes it's somebody in the midfield. Like stand up and get everybody ahead back in the game. And you can see that sometimes when we're winning, but when we're struggling, we need some of that leadership to come through as well. The same leadership we get, like that leadership that we got when was it Martinelli? It was Gabriel made that poor pass early in the game years. I think it was last year in the Wolves game, and he's like, "Don't worry about it. Let's just play." Like that's what we need at the end of this season. We didn't get it from anyone as much as we needed it. So it's just more of the leadership things. Otherwise, he's played pretty well for us. I don't think we can kind of criticize too much about what he's done. He's made some silly mistakes, but I think everybody on this team has made some silly mistakes. So it just came at the wrong time. But when he made that mistake, I don't know what happened. Do you recall what happened after that? Did anybody come to his aid?
I think probably Zinchenko. And you're talking about that Southampton game.
Yeah.
Where he passed the ball directly to
I don't
the
see. Like I remember him sometimes, but I don't remember what happened after that. Maybe because I was so pissed. But that's what we need. Somebody like erase that. We still have 80 minutes to go. That's not good. We're not losing the game because of this first 5 minutes. We're not losing it. So
everything that happened in that game, we didn't lose the game because of one howler in the first minute. From Ramsdale. You see here leading up, Tony, you see here leading up to the World Cup. Aaron Ramsdale, we didn't really need to call on him too much. We just got opened up really badly at Old Trafford for that one loss. But then into the new year, we had Eddie Nketiah come in. We had some outstanding wins in January, a draw against Newcastle, which was frustrating. But then, you know, as the team faded, Tony, Aaron Ramsdale, probably if we would look at it, the shots and goal against us started to go up, and Ramsdale was being asked to do more and more, Tony.
Yeah, a lot of that was Arteta's system of pressing forward. You had Gabriel way up there. And most of the time, or half the time, you had Holding up there when Saliba went down. So it's really easy to just lop it over the left spot side, especially with Zinchenko bombing forward. That puts Gabriel under pressure. It puts Ramsdale under pressure. So that needs to be solidified. I think if you want to have your fullbacks going forward, play a back three.
Yeah, yeah.
None
We're
of
gonna.
this. I just because last year we had Zaka or somebody dropping back into those holes, and now this year we didn't have anybody dropping back on that left side. On the right side, you would have our best player come in and help White out. You'd see him quite often. And
Yeah.
for housekeeping, starting off a season, Gabriel was getting paid $51,000 after he signed his new contract.
Okay.
A little bit into the season,
Yeah.
it was $100,000.
Okay. So
So
you know,
can you go any over $100,000? I don't think so.
I think you got to be somewhere between 100 and 200,000 for Saliba. You know,
He's
and
not a better player
even
than
look,
Gabriel.
even look at that. We're thinking Gabriel Magalhaes is getting underpaid a little bit at 100,000. You know, a week. I probably Gary's thinking that as well right now. Gabriel Magalhaes for what he does for this team.
Somebody asked,
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it was on this show or not, but asked who I thought was the best player, you know, for our season. I said it was Gabriel
Mhm.
Magalhaes. I mean, I think he if we didn't have him there, it'd be even a worse situation. I know Saliba leaving didn't help, but he actually had to play he was playing in every game. I mean, he was playing in the in Europa League,
Europa League,
right? And we only lost
Played a
like
lot of
what,
minutes.
once or twice in that. Once I think it was in
Yeah.
there. So and he played pretty much all those games. So and he was playing, you know, the Premier League as well. So and our defense was stout, right? So yeah, that deal sounds. I mean, like I said, I think this all stems initially from the Nketiah and like the age and you know all of that, and I think
Yeah.
also Arsenal. I think some people still think the way um, the way that Saliba was treated when he first got here, kind of losing. I mean, think about it. He lost probably a year, if not a year and a half, of football with Arsenal because they kind of sat on their hands and didn't move fast enough to get either the loans done or to figure out if they were going to play him or not. So I think
So
for about I think it was a year and a half, right? And they didn't even put him on the cup team. So we had, if I recall, we had is it Captain Mustard on our team, but no Saliba.
Colonel
Colonel
Mustard.
whatever that guy's
Captain
name is.
Colonel
Captain Mustard.
Mustard.
Captain Mustard. You know.
Colonel
like,
Mustard.
I just remember us talking about that, going, Saliba isn't on the cup team, but he is. What?
Yeah, well, I think that cup team was for like a Rennes when Rennes got to the French Cup final. The club did not give Saliba permission to play that
No,
game.
I'm talking about us. Arsenal did not put him on the cup squad.
Who, Saliba?
So Saliba. So he had no games he was going to play.
Yeah, but
except for, like, the
Saliba was
21s or
just
whatever.
Saliba was just starting out with his loans.
Like I said, Colonel Mustard was on that team, and Saliba wasn't. So,
Yeah.
and we see where Saliba is today. You know, Who's
Yeah.
to say he couldn't have been in the same situation with us because he would have been with the squad, learning from Arteta, playing, and that's where the rotation comes in. Because if he was rotating, he would have a lot of minutes under his belt by the time he got to the same age, and it'd be easy to start him. So
BX said the last 2 months we gassed out mentally and physically. Gabriel Magalhaes was our anchor, and instead of letting Eddie go, we chose to be held to ransom by agents. Indeed, a little bit of talk about trying to make meals stretch as well. So what I do is basically get a roast, have the roast, and then use it as part of a soup for the next meal after that. So you're making some things stretch here and there. You know what I mean?
Isn't it a stew? It's not a soup, is it?
It's a stew or a soup. Yeah, one of those things. I think we'll take Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes in a tandem. Tony, do you want to start off as our first choice central defensive partnership?
Yeah. Gabriel, to me, probably doesn't get enough love from the fans as he does.
hey, that was my player of the year. So stop
I
that.
know, Gary.
In general, he's speaking. He's speaking
Generally
about.
speaking, I don't think he
Yeah.
does. To me, he's hardworking. He's usually always in position. He's talking to players, talking to the referees. To me, I would have him captain instead of Odegaard, but it is what it is. I think he should be vice captain, definitely.
We're already asking him to do a lot. Do you think the captaincy would elevate his game?
What do you think we're asking Erdegaard to do? Even more.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Well,
more.
Erdegaard has risen.
He's in the middle of the pitch,
But
and we
Gary,
need him. We need him a lot of times, and he's not always there. So
well,
I kind of,
Erdegaard, from his goals outputs and assist output, you couldn't say he hasn't risen to
I
the
just don't think
challenge.
it's any bigger than what Margulis has to do. That's all I'm
And
saying. It isn't any
Well,
bigger. They're both required. I you
Yeah.
know
I
they're both
always
required.
I think Gabriel's required to do a lot more.
and of course there's no we can have no argument about the tandem that is Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. We can only talk about the mechanics of that partnership. For me, they work perfectly together. Saliba runs a little bit cleaner. For me, Saliba looks a little bit more like the Rolls Royce, and unfair maybe to think of Gabriel Magalhaes as the guy who's making that last ditch tackle or clearance. And maybe that's unfair because
I do
what
think
we
it's
see
unfair because
from
I think the reason why those two work together is because they both complement each other. So when you say Saliba gets to play the way he does, well, you know why he does? It's because Margulis is there.
he's
The reason
doing
why
the work.
Margulis can play the same way he plays is because Saliba's there. I think the two of them are not exact. They don't play the football the same way, right? But with both of them there, we're pretty solid back there. So I kind of feel like a lot of times, it's the new shiny toy.
Boy,
But Margulis has been there for a time now. So it's like, oh, we've seen this. But look at our defense. One of the top defenses until late in a season. And that's because of both of them together. I don't. I think it's just whose turn it was to get a new contract, and it just happened that Margulis got his contract earlier, or else. Because I think if you would have signed if Saliba had got his contract signed before the 2 years, we would probably be looking at it going as a steal, right? So
Stefan says, don't know if any of these players deserve a huge payday. To be honest, wages have gotten silly. It's really about what your rivals are willing to pay.
Yeah, but you had Colonel Mustard, you had Zaka, all those players making 110, 120. Then you have, to me, it'd be insulting being Gabriel, because you have Nketiah sitting there making the same amount as you and just sitting on a bench, and you're playing 4,000 minutes and being one of the key players to our success. I would be very upset about it. Apparently, he
Sali-
doesn't have very good agents or doesn't care about the money much.
Do
But
we, Tony? Do we think Saliba before the World Cup was a lot better? Saliba, he didn't play as well post World Cup.
nope, nobody played as good.
Yeah, you
Maybe
can see
Odegaard.
there. You can see there from the hyphenations between the first 14 games and the rest. You know, we were really good starting out at the first part of the season. Um, Gary, Gabriel Magalhaes was, for me, he was our emotional leader. You know, he lifted the crowd by those tackles he makes going forward. And, you know, the crowd got behind him, the team played with him. And we look to that player for a lot, really.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, that's why I think I think he's a pretty valuable player. I mean, in general, everybody was, and that's what we've been looking for. A time when you can look and go, they all bring something to. It's not like one doesn't really stand out more than the other, I believe, because we see it when they're not playing well or when they're not on the pitch. So
Mhm.
Arteta did create a situation where all our players are important to this thing, um, and like I said, I just like Mario less, and I think Arteta put a lot of trust in him because he did ask him to essentially bring Holding into the games, and then eventually Kiriora also into the game. He probably wouldn't have done that if he
Mhm.
didn't trust him, and that's a good thing to have with Arteta is his trust and confidence from him.
Yeah,
So
he put a lot of faith in Gabriel Magalhaes to guide Holding
mhm.
if he needed to be guided and to guide Kivior for sure. Stan says, I still think we can tweak our defense. We were still leaking crappy goals before Saliba got injured. Definitely a symptom of, I believe it's a symptom of Saliba getting injured. We started
Well,
to
I
give up
think
I
more.
don't
that
think
just
so.
made it. You know what that did for me? Arteta or Arsenal as a whole, because we were always talking about the defense not looking as good late in the season, and that was like you said, before Saliba got hurt, and we didn't see any changes like to anything, right? Nothing,
Do
nothing
you know when it
changed.
started,
So
right?
when we're going through a bad patch, be it offensively or defensively, we don't change anything. So then we just fight through, and then eventually one of your top players gets hurt, and it gets even worse. So I think it was the reason why we looked even worse, but we weren't looking good at that point. I mean, I think if things get stale when you don't rotate, when you don't have
Mm,
you don't have a player pushing you from the bench, and
yeah.
that's where we got to that point where it caught up to us. Teams started to figure us out, and we paid for it.
Tony?
I think it started with the higher press, Gabriel and Saliba both being on the wrong side of the halfway line. They
But that's how we
they
played all season. That isn't like something we just
they
played at the
didn't play
end of the
that way all
season.
season. They
We
went
played
that
that
far,
way
but
the entire way. You think we weren't pressing like that the whole time?
not that far.
I have no
I don't
doubt that
think really
I've seen Margules actually take the ball and bring it into the across the halfway
the
line
the
multiple times.
games, for me, the games in Manchester really were the Man United and the City games were the ones where we played high lines and we got tore apart because of that for different reasons. I don't think there's many instances, Tony, where we're playing a very high line and getting caught um, at the back there. Um, so yeah, listen, can we say Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba were one of the better partnerships in the Premier League this season, Tony?
Uh, one of them.
What other pair is near them if not better?
That's what I was trying to think of.
That's why
Yeah.
I think it's pretty hard because I think we weren't. It wasn't like I said.
Newcastle were pretty
We were a
good.
really good team on the road, and we were really good defensively,
Yeah.
right? And that I think those are one of those are the traits of a good defensive team. Go on the road. The other team's going to be really hyped up to play us, but we're going to play. Our defense was solid. I think so. I think you can name a player on each one of the teams, but can you name two?
A tandem. Yeah,
Not
exactly.
really, right? I mean, like you've got Van Dyke, and he wasn't really all that this season as he's been in the past, right? I mean, just pick any team. Manchester United, no. Leeds, no. Bournemouth, mm.
Yeah.
Fulham, I don't think so. I mean, just pick. Even City. City, who do they have that's comparatively as good as Saliba
No,
and
I
Gabriel,
think our two players were pretty good
right?
together. They complemented themselves very much. Okay, Stan is
Yep.
finished dolling himself up and he's off
And
out.
go enjoy.
Have a good one, Stan. We'll see you on the next one. Yeah, so I thought we did well defensively, and our defensive deficiencies came from other areas of the field. Let's talk about Gary Holding and Kivior as a tandem as well, or take them individually if you want to.
Oh,
Yeah,
Holding, no. I mean, Holding, I've been asking for him to be gone for a while now. I just don't think he was going to give us what we needed. Um, I mean, it's crazy. He actually played a little bit better, but that's not saying much because we needed, somebody better than that. Kirior, a project. He still needs time. I don't think we can judge him on the way he was being played this season. So, Holding, we need to get a better replacement for him. And Kirior, I'm hoping that Kirior, the reason why, what we see from him, what we saw from him this past season was the way we kind of looked at Erdegaard when he first came in and gave us half a season, and then when he came back the next season, he looked a better player for it. So hopefully that's what we get from him. But we definitely need another player behind
yeah.
is it behind Saliba, right?
Yes, Holding's behind Saliba, and he's the one that maybe is probably going to be leaving this summer. If we're looking at the club moving forward, Rob Holding, I'm sorry, your time has it's been wonderful. You've done great, but it's time to move on because we're going places that you probably can't carry us to. Tony, what are your thoughts on Kivior and Holding?
For me, on Kivior, if he's not able to replace Holding, and that's a bad buy.
I don't think he got an opportunity to show that he's better, but I still think he's better.
Yeah, but
Kivior is better than Holding?
Yeah.
I'll go along with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But who was getting the starts? It was Holding.
Well, I didn't say that he was. It was. I don't think he was utilized correctly, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's the better player, and
The thing with Arteta is he stuck with the plan too long, and he stuck with Holding too long before he changed to a Kivior. And does Kivior are we playing Kivior in the right place as a left back in these last two most recent games? Is that the best place for him to shine? Probably not, in my opinion. Let's talk about so that's all central defenders. Let's talk about the right backs now before we get into the left back area, because I think we're going to be stuck in the left back area for a little bit. Right backs, Gary, Tomiyasu and Ben White.
I think together they're perfect for what we wanted to do. When we really needed to, yeah. Yeah, they were a good 1-2 punch for us. If the problem, at least with Tomiyasu, is whether he could stay healthy enough, and once again, he couldn't stay healthy enough. So availability, best ability, and once again, he wasn't able to do that. That's his second, third season now. He hasn't made it through to the end of the season. Not good. So I think that's that's the problem with Tomiyasu. He just can't stay healthy, and we need people that can play.
So this is the end. We come to the end of the second season for Tomiyasu. He was bought the same window as Ramsdale. So the end of the second season for Tomiyasu, there's a big question mark over him in terms of fitness and this injury that he's had now. It could run into the next season as well, Tony.
Well, it's been his calves, it's been his quads, it's been every side of his body. It's just, usually when you're getting that many, they usually don't go away.
Yeah,
Kind of
Mr.
like,
Bung-
kind of like with your lookalike Rosicky.
Mr. Bunga said the only thing Holding has done since he's been at Arsenal is sorted his balding Swede out. Yeah, he's got a nice head of hair now. Ben White is our starting right back. He owned that spot. It does seem as well that Ben White works really well with Saka, and anything different in that right back position, Saka has seemed to suffer from a little bit, in my opinion, in terms of the knowing each other's movements and a little bit like Beckham and Gary
I
Neville.
think that's what cost him at the first of the season because he, at that time, he was actually dropping back, covering White or Saliba if he was out. He was dropping back a lot. But that changed probably about halfway through the first half of the season. Then you started seeing Masaka you wanted to see. But
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
and
I think
we
I
saw
think
that.
yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
I was going to say. I mean, Ben White, I think still sometimes it looks like a defensive liability sometimes, but he seems to come through most of the time. Um, really, fast wingers will get him. But I think the
Yeah,
good thing for him is we have some good solid center backs behind him.
yeah.
So when they're there, it's not we don't feel the pain.
He was
Um,
especially good with Saliba there inside of
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Had that extra protection, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, and that's because I mean the Crystal Palace game. I know people say he shut him down, but when Salah when
Zaha.
Zaha actually did get past him, there was Saliba there to shut it
Mhm.
down. You know what I mean? And that's what you
Yeah,
want to some degree. So is he good? I think that's the thing that people talked about one on one. Do we have any one on one players on that at the fullback position? And we don't. One
yeah.
on
Ben
one, we
White.
don't.
I think there's a lot for Ben White to improve upon. He's been really good going forward. Defensively, he's not as bad as Zinchenko defensively, and he's
Hmm.
not as good as Kieran Tierney probably in that left back position, or even Tommy Asu. But White has been good, so good going forward that we need that. Okay, the big discussion here
but
will be around left back. Go ahead, Tony.
but shouldn't we change formation based on that? Go to a back three.
I
Because
mean,
where
basically,
does
Everything
that
you're saying might make sense in a footballing sense, but who is running this club, Tony?
Lego man?
Yeah,
look,
just
Nobody would play my Lego man
that
video.
logic, that logic. Yeah, your Lego thing, nah.
depends on where you are with Arsenal and how you feel about this season. We are where we are because of Mikel Arteta, and we are where we are because of Mikel Arteta.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's a young it's like working with a young player, right?
yeah,
We always say, you don't want to put a young center back in a team because it could hurt them long term, or it can make them stronger, right? So Arteta, similar thing. He's coaching. I mean, the fact, in his what first year or first time manager in his third full season is competing with one of the best teams. Some would say probably ever. If not just at least in the world right now.
yeah,
And that's kind of what he had to try to do. And you're asking him to be something he's not. He's not Pep. He's not Klopp. And those are the
no,
two top managers out there. Um,
yeah. And there's meat on the bone there for Mikel Arteta to look at. Hopefully, he's looking
You
at
seen
a
at the
lot of.
very end that he started kind of trying out the back three.
he's tried it out when it was too late. That needed to be in his pocket. That was in his pocket to start his career. And I should have been there the whole time. As like, look, we're going to play four at the back, but when we need to, we should be immediately able to go to a three at the back, no problem. You know what I mean? That should always be there. We always talk about a plan B. Sometimes you might need to go to that plan B when, either players just aren't working and you don't want to go to your bench, or, they are working. You just need to switch things up and try
And
something different.
there's
Yeah, I
been
think
some talk about a striker even today as well. So that may be a plan B. We won't get into that one till later, though, Tony.
Oh,
Stefan said vast improvement on previous seasons, was always going to be almost impossible to compete with City.
but I was mentioning his name earlier. I
Yeah, we
mentioned
can
it like
mention it. We
3
can
months
mention it a
ago.
little bit later. So Gary, left back. Where are we at left back, and
I
what's
think
the
it's just no
situation?
different than what Tony is talking about with the whole three at the back. We have answers for certain scenarios, certain situations, and we don't use it. You've got you've got Zinchenko who works perfectly in your system because he helps with the attack. All right.
Mhm, mhm.
Defensively, he's a liability if you have to depend on him to make a stop. But you have a left back who is more sound defensively, and you never use him either to close out games or when you really need a defensive left back. So once again, for me. That's on Arteta.
Yeah.
I don't think Tierney did anything that I would say. Oh, it was that he was terrible. He's been asked to do some things that's not in his wheelhouse. Is not in his
He's not able
it's
to
not
get.
his tool belt kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when he's asked to play like you can't ask a player who's really good at what he does to then do something that Zinchenko does because that's what you want.
Hmm.
Like, come on.
You're asking You're asking a real traditional left back in Kieran Tierney.
Playing
He's won
inverted,
things with
right?
Celtic. He's won
Yeah.
things with Celtic. He knows how to defend, and
Yes.
you're asking him to be a playmaker in that left back position because that's
Sure.
what Zinchenko is, a number 10 playing a left back. And we need to be. This is where we are. We were progressive to a point where we've got all of these points. But being progressive, you're going to get caught out in certain areas. And Zinchenko played a lot of it. Actually, the minutes are pretty high for Zinchenko, and it put Gabriel Magalhaes under a lot of pressure as well. So, whatever we said about Gabriel Magalhaes we must think about what happened at left back to assess his season as well, Tony.
Yep.
Um,
Sorry, not to. To me, yeah, like it was said, you got Zinchenko attacking forward, then you bring Tierney in, then you're asking him to go forward. You have subs usually to change things, not to keep things the same. And for Scotland, he's used to playing left center back as well. So
yeah.
if we wanted to go to back three, we could do that and have Zinchenko as the left wing back and White as the right wing back. And that pretty much being your primary field play, style of play, formation. Then if you want to, you can experiment a little bit with your formation, but that needs to be pretty much the main formation. Because that's what's weird to me. Last year we had two wing backs that we were playing as fullbacks.
Yeah, with Tavares.
Tavares
Well,
went off to France.
Yeah.
Quickly had 6 goals.
So,
it's just Cedric disappearing. We said either sold or kept him. But to me, it's weird. Yeah, have the type of players you want, but you don't use them that year. Then you use people that's not cut for that position the next year. It just, to me, it doesn't make much sense.
Tavares is worse than Zinchenko defensively. That's the problem. So defensively, he was a liability for us.
Had a great first couple of months, Gary. Had a great first couple of months of ours.
But once again, there is a expiration date on the way that those the games were going.
Yeah.
And you could see him being, you could see like things were going to happen, and they did, and that's when we paid for it.
But there they do play with a back three. They sold their best defensive midfielder. And I think they also had some injuries Martinelli had a pretty good first half of the season, then he kind of faded as well.
So, as Stefan says here, City might be dock points. Hold the back page. We're going to be waiting a while for that to come through. Take years. Stefan, we could have won the title from City. We gave it away cheaply. I believe we could have won the title if we were perfect, and we just weren't perfect. City won't be penalized for anything, unfortunately. Give it away cheaply because of lack of depth in squad, where City have virtually got 2 first teamers. Yeah, listen, I said it back in January. I'm looking at the team 7 to 8 points ahead in the table, and they have Eddie Nketiah as their second striker. And I should have known back then when I said it. You know what I mean?
No, but we didn't. When we were 5 points or whatever it was, 8 points up.
Yeah,
Nketiah wasn't starting for us.
it was in January when he was playing games.
No, but I'm talking about late in the season when we were up 5 points and we needed to,
Yeah.
And
we went to Gabriel Jesus coming back.
Yeah.
Trossard had been a big
Trossard
part
had
of
won.
how we were playing.
Had been part of 7
Mhm.
straight wins and all that kind of stuff. So, and Trossard playing inverted 9 worked really good for us. So.
Yeah, I believe. I agree.
Like whenever we saw Trossard come in, you're like, well, that's what Arteta wants from his striker from that 9 position. Some of it is more. You saw more of it from Trossard than Nketiah. So Nketiah, and he wants the versatility with his number 9. So you got one there with Trossard for me, anyways. I believe so.
I need. Trossard was amazing. He played really well for us from the whole time that we got him in January.
Yeah.
I just need him to maybe score another couple of goals. He doesn't have to have more goals and assists, but he needs to have.
You
more
can't
than
say
one
that
goal.
from the man who was the assist leader for us.
I know, but he needs to score
Jesus
goals as
still
well.
missed tons of goals. His missing goal. We won 7 in a row the way he was playing. It was one goal, 8 assists. I think we were fine.
Mhm.
More assists than Erdegaard. All right, he had more assists since January than Erdegaard had for the season. So in 3 months, he had more assists than Erdegaard.
But Erdegaard had more goals than assists.
Yeah.
Himself, Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Like I said, the proof's in the pudding, right? Well, if he had played, he had 7? He had a number of assists coming in. He had like 9 assists coming in and 9 goals coming in. So I think
we just didn't know if the pudding was Jesus or the pudding was Trossard at the time.
You won 7 with the man starting.
Mm-hmm.
You lost.
You
proceeded to not drop points in 4 or 5 of the
not that
next
easy.
matches. So it is pretty. There is some correlation between the two.
Gabriel Jesus scoring at Anfield may have scored against Leeds. I think leading up to that as well. These are the things that might have changed Arteta's mind. If Trossard had scored a goal or 2 more, that decision to stay with Trossard might have been more.
Winning streaks mean nothing. I know I've said in the past sometimes we should bring in our players. But the man, he won Player of March and in April didn't start a match.
Right.
Yeah.
And we didn't win.
I know. I agree with you. I take on board what you're saying, Gary.
When did we start making 4 or 5 goals a game?
When Trossard was in the team, we scored something like 22 goals, and I think we only had 3 or 4 against in that run of 7 games.
So if you play him as central striker or a second striker, he could score more goals than being on the wings.
I really hope we are starting to understand who we have in the team in Trossard and how we can best utilize him this coming season.
I would use him at this point as either backup striker or main striker, because to me, Jesus is a winger. No matter what way you put it, I think he's a winger. That's why I always thought it was silly when we were linked to the 70, 60, $80 million wingers that just
can't make that
never made any sense.
Yeah, indeed. See, you're getting into cooking mode, Mr. B. There you go. Arteta didn't know his best 11. I hope he's starting to arrive at that BX, that he knows not only his best 11, especially in those key positions up front, but how to rotate and save. But when I said I want to see Trossard in Odegaard spot, I was crazy. Move Odegaard to Xhaka's spot next year. I would probably. I probably think.
Why would you flip him on the side of a pitch? Especially when Trossard can play either side.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. We'll get into midfield.
Or Zinchenko can play that.
We're going to venture into midfield now. What are your final thoughts on defense, Gary?
Guess when we were healthy, we were pretty good. We lacked some depth. We lacked some depth, and we lacked some a plan B.
Yeah.
You know, I think we were hesitant to actually use players the way they should have been used. I mean, that's why. I mean, I think Tomiyasu showed that he should have been playing a little bit more, because I think you kill a player's mojo when you don't play them. Because the fact that he was able to bring him in for Anfield and then you didn't see him again for a while, it kind of goes, you know what, he deserves more than that,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But defensively, we were pretty good when we were healthy. If we stayed healthy, who knows where we would be? Because I don't think Southampton would have been. Yeah.
If I tell you our first choice back four and our second choice back four, there's a stark difference between the two of them. So you got Zinchenko, Gabriel Magalhaes, Saliba, and Ben White. Probably one of the better back fours in the Premier League. If you go with Kieran Tierney, Kivior, Holding, and Tomiyasu, you sort of fall off the cliff in a lot of those positions. And so I think we need some. Kieran Tierney looks like a player who's going to move on, right? Possibly Newcastle.
I think it probably depends on what Arteta offers him. To me, like I said, I think he's going to be a left center back. Keep Zinchenko as a left wing back.
Kieran Tierney didn't play the last two games, Tony. Kivior played in that position.
Milsrif Rowe didn't play. Nelson didn't play. And Kedia didn't play. Are those players off the radar? No, they're. I mean, we're talking about trying to get Nelson back. So I don't. That it sends mixed messages to us as fans.
Yes.
Right.
How do you read it, Gary?
You don't play him, but you want to sign. You want to sign a Milsrif Rowe. You want to sign Nelson.
Well, what about Kieran Tierney?
Same thing.
You think Arteta rates him?
If he can change on the Milsrif Rowe and Nelson in terms of don't play him as much as he should, but then want to sign them up and keep them around, then he can change his mind and realize he may have screwed up, right?
Okay.
And on Tierney, because you have a player that answers certain questions for you. You have to be able to use him. He should easily be able to come on for like the last 30 minutes in a game when you have a lead.
Yeah.
Easily come on.
All right, Gary, I'm going to ask you for your prediction. Is Kieran Tierney going to be in the squad or still at Arsenal when the transfer window closes?
Arteta is going to sell him if it was me, it wouldn't have even been a question because he would have been part of the squad.
Yep.
He changed your question, right?
No, I answered the question.
No, he answered
I just can't answer it for my. If it was me, I would keep him, but I would have played him already. So you wouldn't have asked that question at the end of the season.
He was going to say when the season started.
I changed it, because of the window. I changed it. Yes, for sure.
And I was going to say that Tierney would be there for the start of the season.
That's why I changed it.
You fucker.
That's why I changed the question. Yeah, because you always get me on the fine print. I'm starting to get more wise to you, Tony.
I get you on the broad print too. Right?
Let's jump into midfield. Gary,
have you calculated our predictions?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm keeping that warm for a little bit later.
Can I get like a triple crown or
Do
a
you think
jersey?
he already thinks he won everything, Gary?
I think I should get something if I get it right 3 years.
He
in a
already
row.
feels like he's won in those categories of the prediction podcast.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
Do you have the list or the picture?
I
or
have it
whatever?
somewhere. I have it somewhere. I'm not digging it out right now, but
Okay.
yeah, I have it. Maybe we can talk later.
Mhm.
All right. So midfield, Gary, what were your thoughts on midfield? Probably the area of the team that needs the
When
most
or did we? I
upgrade.
don't know. I guess we lost when Partey was healthy and fresh. He was good.
Mm-hmm.
When Partey wasn't, he wasn't. I think Jorginho was an answer. We didn't use, similar to Tierney. We just don't use him when we needed to. So those are the two players. I mean, who else? Well, we had Sambi. No, I mean, I wanted to back him and wanted him to see him do well, but he didn't. I'm not sure what his position is. I think he says he can play 6 or 8. Not sure
6
he
or
can
8.
play either, right?
Yep.
So, and that's it really. And then El Neni just didn't stay healthy. I think El Neni is fine as a number 3, but I think that experiment was for this past season. Going forward, we need better. I just don't want. I want better than him.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start bringing up the floor. Start bringing up our players at the end of the bench. Get better there. So, yeah, if we can stay healthy, good. If you utilize your plays in the right spot, good. I think Jorginho could have done more for us when we needed him, and Zombie just wasn't never the answer after what I saw
So
at first.
do you think Jorginho let us down when he played?
He can't play like a whole month.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So he
You
can't
think he
go.
was overplayed?
You can rotate him. No, I don't think Jorginho was played enough.
Okay.
And rotated in and out of the lineup. He needed to. He can start games for us, but
Right.
can he play a whole month? No. But does that give you a chance for your best players to rest? Yeah. So that he would work perfectly in that situation. All right.
Good question here from BX Gunner. Do we believe Tierney, Emil Smith Rowe, Tamiyasu, and Partey can stay reliably fit? Probably not. I would say I would err on the side of no, that they would not be able to stay reliably fit. That's probably why I'm feeling at least 2 of these 4 will not be with us at the end of the window. Probably Tierney and Tamiyasu. Well, Tamiyasu being injured, but I don't know if he has a
Well, Tamiyasu, the fact that he's not even going to
mutual
play
rest.
for us until like September. Well, here's my
Mhm.
thing. There is no way I want him to stay on. Like if I'm running a business and a guy says I can't, I won't be able to come to work for whatever, but I have to go on
Yeah.
vacation when I get back.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're
wait
going
a
to be
second.
hesitant. Yeah.
But he's not going to be healthy until like September or whatever. But he's going to be able to be ready to go and play in the Asian Cup or whatever it is they have going on. To me, I understand it, but we're not that big of a squad where we can take that risk that you won't come back injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just went through this with Jesus going to the World Cup, right? He was really vital to our club because we couldn't move Ben White to the center. Remember I told you in the beginning of the season, Ben White being able to play is good and bad. It's good if he can't play both positions, right? He couldn't play both center back and right back, and that's what we needed him to do because we didn't have anybody else.
Yeah, but
All right.
I think he's quite proficient in both positions.
No, we didn't have 2 Ben Whites. That's the
We didn't have.
problem.
Yeah,
He can't play both positions at
No,
once.
you're right.
He can
Yeah.
only play one. So so it's good to be versatile if you use it. We never used it when we needed to. Probably earlier in the season when you could have been rotating both Saliba and Margules, right? You could have been doing that
Yeah.
earlier in the season to give them a break, but also maybe to give Tomiyasu the time he needs on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think I think those are the things that Arteta has to learn. I mean, we have answers and we have players and we have teams that we're playing that we should be able to have Tomiyasu in and not feel like, well, we might lose this one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you've got
Mm,
Ben White, who is a center back coming in, who can rotate if you don't have the right answers behind him, behind your starters.
yeah.
You know?
When we were here in the first 14 games, we won 12 of those games and drew 37 points from 42. There had to be situations and points in those games where we could have rotated and could have done those things with Ben White. But Tony, your thoughts on midfield? And BX Gunner has said here, Partey was so useful at Madrid because he was coming off the bench, not starting week in, week out. And that's probably the Partey we're going to see next season if he stays at the club. He's not going to be in all of the big games and play all of the minutes, Tony.
We mentioned 24 with Party. Sorry, I got
24.
listening to you guys, but I would replace him. He's at the age. He's at the age you can, or you could move him to backup. But I think Jorginho's good enough for backup there. I would go find the best 6 you can find, because at best, Party has 2 more good years in him, if that.
Yeah.
That will probably be with limited games. So to me, just cut your losses and sell him. He's never lived up to what we thought we were buying. He had streaks of games, but
Consistently, yeah.
it was never consistently
Mm-hmm.
throughout a whole season. It was just a little short time span that he did play good. It was about 12 games or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went back to being injured or not playing as well.
Is it about? Go ahead, Tony.
Zaka, I would never have been playing him as the left 8. We had at least 4 players.
9 goals, no red cards, Tony.
I don't care. You had 4 players. That
If
could
I backed you, you would perform much better. If I put you in a situation where you would succeed, you do much better. Can't say that for a lot of the other players, especially Tierney, for example.
Yeah.
Kirior in certain situations.
On,
I mean,
how many times
everybody's going to say, Xhaka played better playing in the role that he was in. Well, because he had to do less, right? I mean, It's not
rocket science.
If you're going to do that, and that's why I said if you're going to do that, then you should do the exact same thing for Pepe, because he deserved that. He deserved it even more because he wasn't as strong-minded and willed as Xhaka was, right? I think he needed even more support than Xhaka, did. So I think that's where he went. That's where I think he talks about being, the players being, the connection is what he said. He wasn't connecting with Pepe. He was not connecting with Pepe the way if we're going to try to get if you're trying to, you're trying to tap as much out of a player as you can. That was what you needed to do for Pepe, because he did it for Xhaka eventually, but it took a couple of years before he got to that point, right?
So, yeah, you need to make the player to believe in you and believe in how you're going to treat the player. It doesn't mean you got to play every minute, you're going to play every game, but it does mean that you're going to have to give him a fair shake when it comes to substitutions and coming on in games. And I watched that All or Nothing documentary, and Pepe's there, but he's not there. Do you know what I mean? He's in the dressing room, but he's not there, and he's not being utilized, and he's not being used. So
I don't know. You never see them sitting down talking to him.
No.
Well, that's why I'm saying we always talk about managers treating certain players differently. You treat your best players one way, your players at the end of the bench another way. But what about the players that need more of your attention? Or the players that need more of your back end? What about the players that needs you to actually get into their grill and give them, and scream at them or whatever? They're all different types, and that's what you need to be able to. That's why you need to be able to manage your players.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen KDB screaming at Pep, right? We've seen that,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
and they just went about their business because that's how they worked, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Like another player screams at Pepe Pie doesn't end up the same way, right?
Yeah.
So
With Partey, we're trying to we're still trying to understand this player, and 24 is the full games where he starts to wear down, he starts to break down, and so moving forward, if Partey is going to be in the squad next season, we have to understand that he can't play. We tried it, and it didn't work. We thought if we could just keep him fit, push him through into the 30 game barrier, 32, 34 game barrier, that we'd get more out of Partey and we'd get a more sustained title challenge. And it just didn't happen with Thomas Partey. And, you can say there was a lot of things going on in this season for him, but he wasn't able to stay fit. And Gary, we saw flashes. You saw flashes of the player he could be. Personally, you saw that. And we saw what he can be on the negative side as well.
yep, yep, and that, like you said, that then requires that you rotate, and like that's where we talk about like a certain city, for example, having a small squad because why? Because they can rotate players in and out and they don't lose the form. So then that's where if you bring I know we might bring in another a midfielder, but we might want to just keep Partey because if we can get,
Mm-hmm.
as Tony says, the 12, say we get 12, say we even get 20 games out of him at
Mm-hmm.
peak, all right, peak Partey.
Yeah.
That is what we would need, right? Because that's what we need.
And
And
those
that's what
games,
that's what those teams that we're trying to catch can do. They can bring somebody on that's just as good, if not better, than the player that they're coming on for.
mm-hmm.
They just can't either go for a full season or go for 40 games. So it might, depending on what we do.
and those games that Partey could be playing next season could be a quarterfinal in the cup
Yeah.
against Aston Villa, a quarterfinal in the cup against Brighton.
Or if
You can
Partey was
play.
playing against like a City in an early round,
Mm-hmm.
right? If that's where you go, you go to your bench and it's Partey, you're laughing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Or he could dovetail with Declan Rice, whoever we're going to get.
yeah,
Who else in midfield? We talked about Jorginho. Who else do we
yeah.
want to talk about?
Like I
Granit
said,
Xhaka,
like Sambi, uh,
Sambi.
Xhaka, he had a good season. Yes, I
Um,
people still think we people still think we can't do better than him, and if we have him out of the lineup, the team will play worse. And I just can't get. I don't believe so. I think we might not do well because he's asking somebody who can't do what Xhaka does or what Xhaka does. He's asking another player to do the same thing, and it's hard. It's easier to say, oh, Xhaka doesn't look so good when I bring in when I bring in a Fabio Vieira or a Milsrif Rowe who hadn't been playing much all season, expect them to play like Xhaka. I think that's where for a lot of times we do these comparisons against players that are well out of form.
thanks for being here,
Yeah.
Stefan.
All right.
Till
Good night.
3 a.m. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
And
night.
to me, I don't think we need to go out and buy a player for that
Yeah.
role.
Um,
I think we already have internal options on
yeah.
that party
Now
where we need to go out and buy somebody.
you
And
talk
we
about
might need to go
Fabio
out and buy
Vieira.
a left back so we could have Zinchenko in that 8 role as well.
But
So
he's
Yeah.
not playing there. You keep asking for things you know are not going to happen,
he
Tony.
plays there, Garrett.
He's
He
not
just,
going to play there, Tony.
No.
He's not going to play in the Xhaka position, so we got to get it out of our heads.
Tony's moving Zinchenko into that left eight position, and he's getting himself a brand new shiny left back. Listen, I think with Kieran Tierney could move, and Holding could move, and in the back line here, we need two new players this summer.
I think we know pretty much definitely that Holding's moving. So
Yeah,
And-
somebody. I mean, I was you listen to a lot of the people out there, and we don't necessarily need any attackers. really need to solidify the midfield
Sure.
and our defensive
Yep. Those are the
squad.
priorities.
So
Midfield and defense are the priorities. Whenever I'm thinking about the squad, Gary, I always forget Fabio Vieira.
yeah,
He's like the forgotten one, the forgotten kid that you always leave behind. The Kevin
about him,
from Home Alone.
he's just not. I just think what they expected him to do, like I think they took a risk, it didn't pay out, and whenever they take a risk, it never works. Like, and that's why if you look at all the incomings for Arsenal, like half of them didn't work because they're all risks.
Is
They're
he
all,
good?
they're all a lot of times like what player under 20 mil did we get that you went that worked?
Is he good enough, Ray, for what we paid for him?
He has not. You're right, Gary. We don't have. It's under 20 as a bar where you're not
We
going to
never
get.
find that. We never
No.
catch lightning in a bottle
Um,
there. Vieira being injured, I think not only
Tony,
being injured. Oh, sorry.
no, but Tony is right. He never really hit the heights, Fabio Vieira. So I was answering Gary and Tony and saying,
Yeah, I just never seen him balking up enough to be that player.
what's got to happen, Tony, is he's got to be a second season player. He's got to have. It's got to be this first season he needed to bed in and get used to England, get accustomed to things. And, we've got to see the benefit
not for 35 though. That's the problem.
Well, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but Man
not
City.
for 35.
Man
not
City
for 35.
has.
Well, not for 35 when you could have got a player in the Premier League for 35 and they've done well better, more than what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's the equivalent player in England that you would have maybe gone for? You know what I mean? That's a tough one for me.
I don't know the answer, but I think I don't know the exact answer for that one. But I do feel like we could have got a like the problem is you
Madison.
Huh?
We could have got a Madison now. It would have been a season apart.
No, people were talking about Madison and Erdegaard, and now we're still talking about Madison again. So obviously it doesn't really matter because we could still get Madison now, and people would be happy with that. So getting him a year early wouldn't have made any difference.
Right.
It's just Arteta probably. It's more the Arteta issue.
The thing with Madison now is that he's going to be available because Leicester have been relegated.
Yeah, but we were talking about getting him last season. It had nothing to do with them getting relegated.
Well, we weren't really. It was 2 seasons ago, I think, with Madison. Yes, Tony.
Who did you want us to sign last summer?
Who did I want us to sign last summer? You talking about Fabio Vieira? I mean, no one knew about that was happening until it happened in one day.
That's not what I'm talking about, Ray.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Tielemans. Yeah, I would still take Tielemans if he's available.
He's not available. He's signed somewhere already.
He's on a free.
He's going to be a free agent. He's signed anywhere.
He hasn't.
I thought he did.
No, Tielemans is a free agent now.
He just actually said, "I am not coming back," is what he said. It's the only thing I've heard him say.
He's not going to be playing in the championship. BX said, "Get Savage."
But
Fabio,
why hasn't any team put in an offer for it? Because it could have started in January. That's kind of weird that no team went for him.
He's not your first option. That's the thing.
Yep, exactly.
He's not your first option. Like he's like if I get my first options and I just need to fill the rest of the roster, I'm going to pick him up.
Yeah, but he's really good for the cups and stuff. I think he's.
But he's not like for us. We need to get a player that's going to start for us.
We need
like legitimately start for us in midfield, right? Huh?
I said we need cup players too.
You and this cup player thing. We need to first, but we first need players that are going to play in the Champions League for us. We do need players that can start ahead of some of our starters now.
Yeah.
Tielemans isn't bumping anybody to the bench.
How many players have we counted out when we go
No, I
Is there
know, but
somebody
Tielemans is
position?
like secondary
Who
to a Rice, Casado,
so far?
Fresneda. You name all these players we're talking about. He is secondary to that.
Yeah, yeah. Listen,
But
we're talking about
he's still
Caicedo.
needed though.
Caicedo
Because
could be our right back because Caicedo could be played at right back. He could be there instead of Tomiyasu, raising the levels. Rice comes in if we're lucky enough to get both players. Rice comes in, he raised the levels. Jorginho, he starts over Jorginho. Um, Fabio Vieira isn't as bad as many are crying about. He's way better than Lakonga and has an eye for goal. It has to be, though, that this season was an adaptation season for him. He'll get better adapted and bulk up under Arteta.
I just don't
I
see him
mean,
bulking up that fast.
if he plays well, we're not talking about him getting in the gym if he's played well this season. Because he hasn't played well this season, we're talking about the physical aspect of the Premier League. Mr. Tom said, can I tell you all something that grinds my gears? The Europa League final being held before the Conference League final. It should go. EU, UECL, UEL, blah, 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 and keep down. You all, and deep down, you all know it.
No,
Okay.
it's like playing the gold medal match before
I get
the
it.
bronze match. You don't
Yeah.
do that, right? And like in the World Cup, you don't go, all right, we're gonna do the gold medal in Olympics, doing the gold medal match, and then tomorrow we're gonna do the bronze medal match. What? Yeah, that makes no sense, and that's what they
Yeah.
just did. Basically,
I'm going to be right back, but I'm going to leave you to talk about Emil Smith Rowe, both of you. And I'll be 2 seconds.
You said Emil Smith Rowe?
Emil Smith Rowe, because that's one that is close to Tony's heart.
No, he's not.
You're
Want
not
me to
gonna
go
talk?
or you to go first?
I'm waiting. When I
Tony,
pause, it's for you, man.
does he have a shot at left A, Tony?
He could, but I just don't see him staying fit enough. I think we've seen him long enough that knowing that he can't go the whole year for us, don't know if you can even trust him just in cups. Maybe you could, since he had a couple of weeks sometimes between those games, but he definitely can't play for us in a Premier League constantly. Just not there. Good player, just right now he isn't used right. Last year we seen him coming off the sub bench. It worked. This year they had him in kind of screwy positions where he couldn't score. But to me, he's just not quite good enough because of the injuries and all that.
I'm glad you quantified that with the injuries because we don't know if the injuries is the reason why he's not even playing right now. I mean, I'd like to believe the only reason why they're thinking about keeping him is because they knew he wasn't ready to play. Which, for me, if you're not ready to play, then you shouldn't be on the bench. I mean, I think that's for me. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
If
that's
they're
the
gonna
problem.
if he's still on the bench, if he's still with Arsenal, that means they think he was. They kind of did that whole Martinelli thing where he comes back and he doesn't play much, and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I can only hope that that's the reason why he didn't play much. It's because
Yeah, I
he
hate these
wasn't
ones you
healthy.
have to assume.
We've
Yeah,
had
I mean that's that's what Arteta does to us, right? He does things that don't make any sense, and there's usually a reason, and we never hear about it. And then
I'd
eventually you see
rather
a like if he's can't play, he can't play. So now you've got a spot being held by a player that you can't use. So what's the point of that?
right.
Why don't like we put all these youngsters on the bench? Why not just put them on and then actually give them those minutes in the last 10 minutes of the game, right? Why is Russell should
We
just be
had a
he
lot
should
of
just
the
be home. He should just be home, recuperating
so
and get himself ready for the new season if he's not going to be available to you.
Yeah,
we
There's
had a
no,
lot of those players, Gary, throughout the season. They were sitting on the bench, academy players. And now if we get a Caicedo, we get a Rice, we get a left back, we get a right central defender. Those players don't see the bench anymore.
it doesn't matter. They're not playing anyways. But if you have better players, then yeah. But it wasn't
Are
like we
you
had better players. We would let our best players just get down to the point where they can't play anymore and
But
still not go to our bench.
at this point, Smith Rowe looks like a cup player.
Are we willing to give
For
up on
me,
Smith
You
Rowe right now?
you
in the
think what
in the
about
cup
like the end of
story,
last season? Did he look like a cup player to you?
You put him in the. There's no cup team, Tony.
No, but
You're doing.
think about that. At the end of last season, did Emil Rowe look like what you call a cup player?
No.
He
no,
was
because
one
he
of our
never
top
got enough
scorers last
He
season.
never got enough games. He
No,
didn't
but he
go
was one of
play
our
in the
top
under
scorers without these
23s. And
games that you're talking
For
about.
the first half season, he was He was really. He got 10 or 12 goals,
Yeah.
and he got an injury toward the end of the season, which
Yeah.
stopped him. But the first 4 or 5 months of last season, he got 10. He was scoring goals for fun. Tony, coming off the
that's
bench.
what I said. He was coming off the bench.
Um,
But he's not
Scoring.
even coming off the
This
bench
year
now,
you
so
didn't
either
see
he's
it.
injured
Yeah.
or he's gone. So that's why I'm saying if he's
So-
still around, then it must be
Then
injury,
he's injured.
right?
Yeah. And I want to believe that it's an injury thing, Gary, and that we will get an Emil Smith Rowe coming back next season, firing on all cylinders and pushing players for more competition. It took Erdegaard his third year in England to break out. Tony, hope you're feeling better. Who won the upset pick league? Okay, Gary took it away. Congratulations, Gary.
See, he doesn't even want to he didn't even want to put me in the first position,
Who?
and now he
Me?
doesn't even want to announce it. He really wanted to announce it.
Well, when you win the league, do you want to say you won the league every week? You know what I mean?
You can't. I know. I just won it.
You did. You won it. You just won it by 3 points, three
You
and a
know,
half
people
points.
look, and I'm in the first position too.
Ray,
Tony, you
Hey.
bottled it.
Waiting for my check.
Ray. If I was picking games on Saturday,
Oh, don't give us any
what I
excuses
won.
now. You had all the time. You knew well in advance when these games were. You know why? Because the schedule didn't change like each week. It was there from day one of the season.
It's not like I was fighting pneumonia the last 3 months or anything.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I know
You
you were
had
fighting
time.
pneumonia.
You're making excuses for this pneumonia thing. I bet. You know what? You know why I know you had time? Because you were talking wrestling. A lot of Wednesdays. Guess
A
what?
lot of
That
wrestling.
means you had time.
Yeah.
So try again, mister. Nah.
R-
I don't want to hear it. No,
Right.
no
The last
excuses.
2 weeks, Ray sent in as
You
upset.
knew the games long ahead of time.
Right,
If you
right.
knew you couldn't do it on the Saturday, you could have done it on the Wednesday, Thursday,
Right.
Friday.
What day did you send me the last 2?
Why do you need to know that? You know how it works.
Saturday, I think.
Just look at the table.
It was Saturday.
Saturday.
Just making
Same as
excuses
Gary.
because you're making excuses because when
Same as Gary,
when-
same as Sam,
yeah.
Gary and Sam had a better title challenge than Arsenal and City.
Yeah,
LOL.
yeah, it was.
And
Yeah,
Tony,
Sam was leading. You know what? Sam was leading. Some might say he bottled it.
yeah,
He was
Tony
leading. I
was
think I was
leading.
well behind.
I was
in fourth.
leading for the
I think I was in
longest
fourth
time.
place at one point in the season.
I probably led the longest.
Tony actually using pneumonia as the excuse for not being bothered to make a football pick. The audacity of that, Tony.
Yeah.
Audacity.
The doctor's like, you have like 5 seconds to live, and it's like, wait a second, I gotta get my pick in. See, that's how it works. That's how
And
that's supposed to.
The funny thing was that Tom was actually thinking that Tony's methodology was genius. Well,
Yeah.
did it get him anywhere in the end, Tom? No, it didn't.
When you reduce
And
yourself
Sam
down
thought I
to
was
just
cheating.
when you reduce yourself down to just one pick, it makes
2
it
or 3
really
picks.
easy. Maybe I'll just go with the last game of this.
You were letting
because I had no choice.
Yeah, he was letting Saturday games go, 5, 6, 7, 8 Saturday games, and you had 3 to pick from, 2 or 3 to pick from, Tony, and you limited your chances. And
I don't understand. I don't believe
And
you.
Tom
Bringing
was
up
a
pneumonia
believer.
as your excuse now.
Tom was a believer by the end. It was genius. Was. You lasted 30 games, Tony. You lasted 30 games, just like
Hey,
Arsenal.
just like it's
And
like
then you
Arsenal
faded.
bottled it.
Bottled it like Arsenal and Spurs.
And then you faded. Okay, Miss Monroe, let's go to Erdegaard, Tony.
Uh,
Breakout season.
I would kind of say, I was going to say his first 6 months on his loan was kind of like this, but he wasn't scoring like that. But the season before this season, he started off kind of slow, then picked it up as the season went
Why are you
on.
talking about the past? What about his last? We're talking about
This
the
is
last
what he
season.
does.
We're talking about Odegaard. That's what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
for this past
Hush,
season.
Gary. You've had plenty of
You gonna
time
go
to
talk about when he was at Norway, when he was
Gary,
coming up
hush.
in the Pee Wee League, and he was like 2 years old, and he scored on it. He
Gray,
scored
use
5
that
own
button.
goals.
Mute Gary. Mute Gary.
I have to mute you. Tony was doing well until he had wrestling picks to make, and that 2 games a week, Tony, was just too much for you.
Yep.
Anyway, Erdegaard.
Odegaard, like you
Tony,
said, his breakout season. I think he could have did so much better if we had a recognized central striker.
Right.
We need that.
Yeah.
We need that instead of fucking Arteta making the striker go play in midfield. It makes no sense. He did it early in the season with.
Look, I think we have in Gabriel Jesus, we had a more central and forward player than
But he
we
was
had with
still
Lacazette.
dropping back a lot.
Lacazette was everywhere, but Gabriel Jesus played that position more. Eddie and Kenny played that position more. Listen, Odegaard needed more quality than Eddie and Kedia, and Trossard as well was good.
I would have still took one extra year of Lacazette over 5 years of Eddie.
Yeah. Odegaard was born this season. I think
I personally don't want. I didn't want either of them, so I don't know. In fact, you're going to take one of them.
Erdegaard, Gary Erdegaard.
Mm-hmm.
The coach, manager, the coaches wanted him to take more shots, even from the second game.
You know what? No. I've been asking for him to shoot since day one.
I know, but he wasn't listening.
Gary wants everybody to shoot.
No, I wanted him definitely to shoot more. You know what? You know why I want him to shoot more? One is because we went over this. You guys jumped all over me when I said. You look at KDB, right, and you see what he does when the team needs a goal. He scores the goal, right? Erdegaard is our guy that can score a goal because he's probably the more clinical shooter. He's more clean with his shots than anybody else on our pitch. He doesn't shoot enough for me. I mean, you look at when he's taking those shots. I mean, he's really good at that. Really good at it. I know he's probably pass first, probably, and besides shoot. But I think a lot of times.
I don't think he's any more clinical than Trossard is.
I'm just saying. Well, I don't say to play the same position, but for him, he needs to take that shot because he's been in better situations, and he doesn't hit the crossbar as much as Trossard does. He typically gets it in the right spots when he takes a shot. He just don't take the shot. That's the problem. So I think he's better than Trossard because some people say Trossard had 1 goal and probably like 4 or 5 clangs off the crossbar in the post.
I remember 2 at least.
So I think that's the difference in the two. So he needs to. For me, if he doesn't here's the thing. At some point, this guy's not going to score for me. I might as well just score. You know what I mean? That's how the mindset's got to be. At some point, look, we need to score a goal. I'm giving you 2 nice shots. You're fluffing your lines. You're booting these things over the into the stands. I'll show you how it's done, and he just scores, right? Because he's got it in him. So
he got so many goals this season, Gary. But we still remember the times
he's
where
holding. You know why? Because that's how good he is. Like I did look. I say it all the time. I don't look at him enough because I don't. I don't feel the same way about him as other players, other fans do. One, because
Mhm.
they look at the game differently than I do. So, but I do know when I see him in certain situations on the pitch, I want him to take that shot instead of looking for somebody else to take it who doesn't want it. Most of the time, like a lot of times, he'll pass it off to Saka, and Saka doesn't want to shoot. Saka's looking to
So
dribble and pass and stuff, and like a lot of
yeah,
times, I'm like, no, 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 no. You just just take the damn shot. If they're not going to shoot, you take the shot. You know.
scored so many goals, and yet we
And he
remember
held back, and he held back.
we
That's the
remember
thing.
those occasions where he held back and didn't fire. He didn't pull the trigger, and he elected to pass to a player that's not as doesn't have as much quality as he
Yep.
has.
Yep.
12 yards out, 15 yards out when you can shoot. I don't agree with this, BX Gunner. I think leave him in the right eight where he can work with Saka, he can work with Ben White, and
I
he
don't know.
can be
I think Saka might need somebody different. Like I'm
you
not,
know,
and
Saka.
the way that we play, anyways, we'll switch. So what if our eight switch? It doesn't matter, right? If it's Trossard and him, they can switch. You wouldn't even know. You'd be in so much trouble.
I
You know what I
still
mean?
think I still think Erdegaard can get Lampard numbers. That's got to be but it's going to probably be from the right eight and not replace
I
Granit
don't think it
Xhaka.
matters. I think he's that good of a player. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. He just needs to
yeah.
just take the damn shot. That's what I
Um,
believe. Yeah.
he's got to be hitting 15, 16 again next season.
Well, here's my thing where I say he might not is because Champions League, and we might go deeper into cups and all. Basically, the squad needs to get deeper such that he doesn't have to score 20 plus goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he might get 15
put
and
more
10.
load.
I
Yeah,
want him to be double digits in both sides, right?
yeah,
If I told you he'll get um, say close to 30 goal contributions, double digits in goals
right.
and assists, we're going to take that, right? That's what we
14 to
need to
14.
see from him because he is, and that means we have better up front. But in reality, if he has to score 20 goals, that means we're still missing someone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But at some points, I just need him to shoot, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
know.
did look at him in the I think in the Wolves game a lot more, and you can see some of the, like I think I've noticed that he's doing things, but there's just nobody there, right? Or the player is not either the player's not there or the player is not finishing their dinner, as some would say.
Yeah.
So
Well, if you look at the pitch overall, Gary, I'd say our right side has always been pretty strong, but we're probably going to have to try to reconnect the left side again this coming season. Granit Xhaka probably moving on. Zinchenko probably going to keep fulfilling that role in the left back
I mean,
position.
did the left side do that bad?
Martinelli, I thought, had a good season
Yeah.
because
So they didn't
of,
do that bad.
didn't do that bad because of Zinchenko and Granit Xhaka, in my opinion. Erdegaard,
Well, that's what I'm
Jesus.
saying. I don't think a left or right side is an issue. I think Arteta might make it an issue the way he plays Zinchenko, but it's not really an issue when you have a front line that scores 15 and 14 goals across the board, right?
Yeah,
I mean, think about that. Your front three essentially, well, not your front three, but you got your three
Jesus.
youngsters basically all in double digit goals, and then
Feel like
yeah,
Jesus could have hit 15 as well
yeah,
if
and he
he had
probably
the
definitely if
extra
he
10 games.
played what he didn't he missed
Big chunk.
12 games basically.
Yeah, yeah. So he could have
So
hit another 3 or 4 goals and be
yeah.
on 14, sitting
You
on
would have
14.
15
So,
goals from your front four players, essentially. You're attacking front four players. I
yeah,
mean, that's not bad.
not bad at
And
all.
even Xhaka with his 14 goal contributions is like not bad. I mean, the problem it's towards the end. The problem sometimes wasn't our scoring, even though we needed it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Arsenal
but
did beat Wolves, Tom,
yeah,
twice. It had to be twice. Yes.
yeah, we didn't. We
We
didn't.
did. We
We
beat
didn't lose
them.
them.
That was probably our best performance at their place. The last game before the
Mhm.
World Cup break, we played a very controlled game. Actually, Erdegaard scored both of those goals at Wolverhampton Wanderers as well. I remember those games. that game. Okay, Martinelli took a big step forward this season, Gary.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
Um,
did. I mean, I mean, we always saw it coming, right? It's
yes.
like we always go back to the Liverpool matches. Like he's going to be a terror, and he definitely did a good job doing that. Put a lot of pressure on the defenses. He was good for
Still
that.
has he still has his moments where he goes down blind alleys and makes poor choices.
Well,
Uh,
and for me, when he does that, he just needs to go to the goal, or
mm-hmm.
pull it way out, and he
Yeah,
doesn't do either. He kind of
yeah,
sits. He kind of like hesitates, and then the threat is gone, and then sometimes the ball is gone.
yeah.
So
And that pass at Anfield in the final minutes as
yeah,
well. You know,
just Saka, right? Saka's
Saka.
is all alone, and it's just a really poor pass.
Yep.
But yeah,
But he has 14. I think he got 14 goals this season.
yeah, 15 Premier
15.
League
Okay.
goals. Yeah,
And so starting to realize his potential that
yeah.
we always
So
knew he maybe
and
had
that's
it.
the
Right?
thing. We're talking about all these players, and we talk about like I mean, it's probably more us than other fans, but we talk about where they go missing in parts of the season. You know what I mean? Like think about it. All of the players we're talking about, all of them went missing for one reason or another, either injury, or we just were like, when are they gonna come on? When is Saka gonna show up? Where does it?
Mm,
Ardegour sometimes miss. We're not seeing him, and when is Martinelli gonna show up? Right? And I think some of that is if they're rotating, and instead of having to play 36, I think. Let me see.
yeah.
Let's see, Erdegaard, how many did he play?
Could be young
Yeah.
players.
So they between the three
34.
of them, they missed 4 games in the Premier
Mm-hmm.
League,
Mm-hmm.
right? That that's I think it's too much in the sense that mentally it's a lot of stress on the body and the mind. But if they didn't have, say, you take away 4 or 5 games from them, and you get those 4 or 5 games where we like looked at them and went, oh, I wish we could have rested them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they just played those 4 or 5 games much better. Maybe they do come out and play much better, and they do get the 20 goals or the double digits assists and stuff. So that's kind of why with the rotation for me is key. So that those players will be their minds and bodies will be fresher when they play in these games, and they can give it. I sometimes I feel like they pace themselves to make it through 90 games because they know there's nobody behind them. And I think that's not a way to play. I think you should be able to play your game. And if your manager thinks you need to come out, then you just come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
The frightening thing for rival fans is our wing players, Martinelli and Saka, and
mm,
even the pace that Erdegaard injects into the game.
mm, mm,
I see Liverpool fans looking at us, and we remind them of where they were and what the team that they were in terms of the energy they
mhm.
had for 3-4 years, and it remains to be seen if Liverpool are going to come again and retool and be better than last season. They finished the season pretty well, but Arsenal need to maintain this intensity. It's the only way to beat City in the end is to keep this intensity, but to keep the intensity going for 38 games in the season through the cups and into the Champions League as well.
Yeah. And
And
now, just looking at it even now, Trossard had double-digit assists.
yep, I think he got a couple on Sunday against Wolves as well.
Yeah.
That cross for Gabriel Jesus, and I think I think he might have fed Bukayo Saka for that third goal.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Bukayo Saka scoring that third goal, he hadn't scored for a while before then.
and he hadn't looked the way it looked like he never put himself in that situation, and I believe he had opportunities to do that, and he just wasn't like it's one of those things where not every time can you do it, but just give me the one time and then make the shot. You know what I mean?
Cut in on the
There's
left.
always going to be an opportunity that you're just gonna like you're gonna have to dig deep and get that energy to make that move. Especially we needed players doing that, and they didn't do it enough.
Yeah. Haven't seen a deadly duo on the wing since Robin and Ribery, and then Saka and Martinelli came along. Or you could even say
Yeah.
Mo Salah and Sadio Mane for
Yeah,
me.
they were dangerous. Yeah,
Um,
I do remember that Robin and Ribery.
Ribery, yeah,
Those they were scary.
yeah.
And you know what? We have that, and we're not even that threatening yet. I mean,
Hmm.
they still have some ways to go. You can only imagine. If it should be easy for us to get 20 goals, but like I said, I think with the amount of games we're playing, we might not see might not see those numbers, and it might be okay, right? It
Yeah.
might be okay because it could be other players scoring that hadn't played, hadn't scored. Like if Milsrif Rowe and Nelson, if they are going to be part of this squad and if they are going to get minutes, then maybe they're going
Mm,
to get some of those
Nelson.
goals,
Yep.
right? Is it Nelson? Sorry, Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, you said Nelson just reminded me. Let's speak about Nelson. He's almost
Yeah.
like a Fabio Vieira, but I think he's been much better than Fabio Vieira for us this season. What do you think, Reese Nelson?
Yeah. It's once again availability, right?
Yes,
Availability is his
I think
issue.
it's like
I mean,
10 games.
he only got to play well, he played in 11 based on this stat
Hmm.
here,
Probably
but
came off.
in those, I mean, in 200 minutes he had 5 goal contributions, right?
Which is
Which is
very
is
good.
really good. Every 40 minutes, every
Mhm.
40 minutes, he's giving you a goal or an assist. I mean, that's good.
If he
The
could
pro,
do that
but
over
but
20
the
games,
the problem is, why doesn't he get more minutes?
mhm,
And that's on Arteta. You have a
mhm.
player that's producing like that, and he doesn't get to play. You're like, what more does he have to do?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. A player like Granit Xhaka, a favorite of Arteta's. Moving on, it might open things up for a Trossard or a Nelson or Emil Smith
Why
Rowe.
does Xhaka affect Nelson and Trossard?
Well, we know why, right?
No, well, why they don't even? He's not going to play him in that position.
Where Granit Xhaka would play most every game, he had to leave the club for that not to happen now.
But that's the thing I don't get.
Arteta,
Like, that's the problem. You think we have to let players go for them to get on the pitch, and I'm like, no, they should just get to play because they're
we've
good.
seen it though this
No,
season.
I know, but that's the problem. You're thinking they have to
Yeah.
leave, and I'm like, no, Arteta just has to know how to use his players. Like, if they're good enough, then they play.
And I think there'll be a little bit of that rotation that you want. It will come more naturally next season. But I think also a player like Granit Xhaka will remove one of Arteta's favorites.
And that's
If we're
stupid.
being honest here, if
It's a
we're
stupid
being
way to
honest,
coach and manage its
I know,
squad because you're just
Um,
hurting the rest of you're hurting the rest of your players and your team.
as BX said, Arteta's over reliance of players could be damning. Just look at Wenger,
Yeah.
and
Everybody has to play a part, or else this thing doesn't work.
Nelson showed
He
he's
wants he
ready.
wants the fans to be part of this. Well, then all 25 players have to be part of this, or else what are you doing? Why do you have 20 players, 25 players if you can't utilize them? They have to be good for something, or else why are you keeping them?
And it was kind of interesting that the majority of the Emirates crowd were all chanting in some way for Granit Xhaka to stay. That ship has sailed. We're going to move on from there. You have no word.
Yeah, I no, I mean, I think
Sorry.
I'm not a fan of the North London Forever song, so and that's probably a lot of those fans are the same fans that are okay with Jacques staying. I'm like, no,
Well, the two
I don't
things.
have to I don't have to like everything Arsenal does.
Yeah, I don't. I like one and not the other. From the two things you just mentioned.
Yeah,
There.
I don't like either of them. I could do with either. It
I
goes
like the
out.
song. I think the song has really helped with the atmosphere within the stadium.
Yeah.
Has helped us to get off to a good start. Although we do have to talk about that toward the end as well. Alonso, welcome. BX said Nelson showed he's ready and hungry. I think we'll have a huge season coming up.
Every time he came on, he was the only player that looked like we always talk about when a player comes on. What do you say about these players that come on? What do you say? What do you want
Take your
them to do?
chance. Take your
Huh?
opportunity.
Exactly. What did he do?
He took his opportunity.
How was he repaid for that?
Next season, he'll get more starts.
See, yeah, next season, yeah.
I think he was able to renegotiate his contract. I think they went back to the table 3 times until they got one that was satisfactory to him. So
That's how bad we are. A player that
his
we played that game
representative.
got 200 minutes to, we got to go back 3 times. Imagine a player that we want to play 30 games for us. How many times are we supposed to go back for that? It's just really not good.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
what confidence does a player have when you give him 200 minutes and you score 5?
Well,
You
yeah,
scored
but a
3
lot of that
goals
is
and 2
injuries.
assists.
Well,
No, not all of it.
no,
No, when
but a
I'm
lot of it.
healthy and I don't get to play, then what's the point? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yes, I'm injured a lot if I'm Nelson, but when I'm healthy, I should play.
Yeah, but one of those squad players that we think can step up and play a role next season, we feel a lot more certain about him than a Fabio Vieira or an Eddie Nketiah. You know what I mean?
Well, he's
Alonso.
like you said, he showed some desire when he comes on,
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
that's
He
what
lit it
and
up.
that's what Vieira
And
needed to do. And Vieira wasn't doing it,
he's a
and
ball carrier.
Nketiah wasn't doing it.
He's the
And
kind of player
what is
we
it?
need,
Nketiah
guys.
doesn't start, he don't score.
Hmm. Yeah,
So we can't. I can't. That be the
got
way
to
that you
change.
work as a footballer.
Yeah,
You
that's got to
play, you
change.
score is where it works for him. He's a striker, right?
Yeah, it's got to change. He's got to come on with 12 minutes to go in a game
It's all in
and,
here.
and
He
get a
said it.
goal.
I always say first you say it, then you do it.
Yeah. All right, Alonso. I was going to ask
Did I?
Alonso about Nelson.
Well,
Did
I'm
I?
still here.
All right. What do
Have
you
you
think
seen it?
about Reece Nelson, Alonso, in our squad for this past season?
I think whenever he played, he, like you guys talked about, he showed desire. There's no questioning that. And I think, he almost scored against Southampton, I believe it was that game. So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
he tries, but I think he gets hurt. He gets hurt a lot, and I think that's where Arteta doesn't trust him enough to play every game, or at least a sub him on. He's a good squad player, I guess. What I'm
Mhm.
trying to say here is that he has passion. He wants to score. He has a score on target. He brings us something that the other players don't, and that's Vieira. I think Gary had talked about Vieira. Um, so he has potential to be a backup per se, or at least be a part of the rotation. We're going to need more out of him and Moses Rowe and Vieira and whoever else hasn't shown up this year. We're going to need them next year. So hopefully they're ready. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they
Yeah.
do well.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those players that's able to carry the ball. As you mentioned, Alonso, you reminded me he was a key part in one of the goals for this. I think it was Saka's goal, his shot, Gary. His shot led to Saka's third goal,
Hmm.
Arsenal's third goal for Saka against Southampton. Only a draw at the end of the day, but we didn't lose that game. Arsenal's looking like Arsenal again with player passion. Okay.
No, I was just looking at the stats for him, right? So he was on the bench for the first game of the season. Then he had thigh problems for the next 7. Then he was on the bench for the next October and November. Played one game, Forest game, and then came on for a minute against Wolves. Then he had a thigh problem again after the World Cup. Didn't come back until February on the bench. Then he was not in the squad for a couple of games. Then he played against Bournemouth, scored a goal, and I think he assisted. And then on the bench. And then if you look at the minutes he played in the last 7 games, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 16, 3 minutes. and then the last two that he played, 30 and 30. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not a good way to utilize him.
No. What
I
we're
mean-
looking for, for Reece Nelson is to be like a Minamino for Liverpool.
Mm.
Probably didn't get a lot of minutes for Liverpool, but made an impact when he did get those minutes. And that's the kind of thing we need from Reece Nelson next season, to be more of a Minamino for us.
Yeah.
You know.
We beat Crystal Palace and Leeds 4-1,
Yep.
and he was on the bench and didn't play.
Yeah.
Like, why?
I don't know, but I think he's starting to gain the trust of.
You keep
Nicola
saying this,
Pepe.
but what trust are you see? What are you looking at? What did you see in this season where you went, Arteta is gaining? I see him getting some more trust
The
in
Bournemouth game.
Nelson. The
The
Bournemouth
Bournemouth
game.
game when he scored a winner.
That was that was back in
Back in
March.
February or March.
And
Yeah.
from that we play like after that goal.
Just check
Right?
your
The
stats
next
there.
game he got 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Then the next 3 games he was on the bench and didn't play.
Okay.
And
So
guess
you are
what?
looking at it.
And like I said, Crystal Palace and Leeds, we won 4-1. He didn't play.
Mhm.
And I believe we were leading those games pretty much from the
It's tough
start.
though. Gary, it's tough though. He's at a club where he's behind Martinelli.
When you
behind
play a player,
Bukayo
you
Saka.
won 2 games 4-1. You should be able to cut. He just scored a winner a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like, how in the world can you get better in a squad if you go out there and you do that and the coach goes, cool. Like you're never like you want to. We talk about these players going on and doing something on the pitch, then they do that and then he doesn't play them.
Yeah,
Why?
but I'm
So
going
then,
to tell
but
you.
like Carrier goes out there, screws up, but he gets to play again. Fabio
I'm gonna
Vieira
tell you,
goes out there and he
Minamino.
screws up, he gets to play again.
Minamino comes on for Liverpool. He scores a goal. He's not really starting the next game when you have Mo Salah, Sadio Mane.
I'm not asking to start
Mane.
games, but the man didn't even play.
You
He
have
didn't play in 2 games for
five-
1, and he just won a win. He just scored a winner for you.
Yeah. You have 5 substitutes, so you have to be very careful who you get. I know it's
That's
half the
those
team.
games. If you're leading 4-1, Saka doesn't need to play out
Yeah,
90 minutes.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he might have played when do you bring you have a player that you can bring on for Saka? He comes on for Saka and scores 2 goals early in the season against Nottingham
Yeah.
Forest. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
Then he was on the bench, and then the next game he got 1 minute of play, and then he was injured for 2 months.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't get. All right.
This could be a player that could have a good breakout season next season.
He got
Okay.
injured during the World Cup break.
Yeah. He'll get more up. He's got to get more up. Obviously, he'll get more opportunities than just 11 chances to play. And I need Reece to be challenging to start, says BX. Reece is just talented as Saka, but needs to show it. This is a player who can give Saka the minutes of rest that he needs. Reece Nelson can
Yep.
be that player. And
If he's staying, then he needs to play.
okay. I mean, we're going to be watching all of this next season. It's going to be unfolding in front of our eyes. So we'll see what happens. We have a few more players to go through. Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus. Am I missing anyone else? I don't think so. Trossard, maybe. We can talk about Trossard, but we kind of talked about
He's
Trossard.
5 goals. Is it?
Eddie?
His 3 goals and 2 assists. Reece, right?
Reece, yeah, in 11
They were in
games.
2 games.
Yeah.
And both games, 2 games. One he only played 63 minutes in one, and he played 21 in that Bournemouth game when he came on late. I mean,
And I will tell you, I remember Martinelli got injured. Was it Martinelli? No, maybe I'm thinking of Emile Smith-Rowe. Trossard got injured. Emile Smith-Rowe had come on. And then I think Emile Smith-Rowe came off. for Nelson. So the whole situation with Trossard getting injured precipitated Nelson being on the field. Know what I mean? It's not going to make you feel any better. But that's what happens. You know what I mean? Okay, Eddie and Kedia, Gary.
Eddie and Kedia. Let me
Yeah, Trossard injury, Emil Smith Rowe came on.
as you bring up these names, I like to see kind of what he was doing that season. But for he definitely held up for a while when we needed him to, when Jesus went injured, right? And he got those starts and he came out and he we were like enjoying him playing. He scored some really good scored some really good goals. I mean, you look at the Europa League where I think he got his initial starts, most of his starts, all of his starts, a lot of his starts, and he scored at a goal, 2 goals and assists in the first 2 games, and then after that, the next 4 games, nothing, and then he was out with an injury for the knockout games. And like I said, as soon as he started, then he produced for us, right? I mean, first start, West Ham, goal, Brighton, goal. And then later on, he got the 2 goals against United.
Yes.
And an assist against City and an assist against Everton. So I mean, he did good in that stretch where he gave us what 4 goals and then 2 assists in that stretch, I think, before Jesus came back.
Yeah.
But there's kind of the kind of roller coaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, the roller coaster. You either got something, you either got something from him, you got nothing from him.
Yeah, when we come back here after that hyphen, it's the win against West Ham. Really, really good, well taken goal.
Yeah.
There, winning at Brighton was a very, very good result, and he was there for a tap in in that game, and then we drew Newcastle 0-0, very frustrating game. Tottenham game away from home, he played really well there. He didn't score, but he played well. And then the big game for him was Man United at home, 3-2, getting 2 goals there.
Yep.
So,
I mean, I think that was his best game, and then I think it started to dip after
stretch
that.
of five games, and then it started to dip with the loss at Everton, the draw at Brentford.
And I think that's where we needed something. We needed the things it works for a while, but then the things that you would get from what Arteta wants out of Jesus or Trossard was missing, right? And he could have, Trossard could have been playing in those games, based on the way we were playing. It just so happens that when he had those ankle injuries, we kind of went on that winning streak, right? When he didn't play much. I mean, I think if I recall here, we won.
He was injured for the Everton game, or didn't play well for the Everton game. We lost that game, and I don't think he played against Brentford either. Because Trossard came in for that one, and Trossard played well in that game. He scored. That's the only goal.
He started against Brentford.
Who, Eddie?
Yeah.
With Trossard getting the goal against Brentford, be his only goal this season. For BX, goal against West Ham was my goal of the season. So Eddie is a lot like Rob Holding. Rob Holding's probably moving on, but you get 5 or 6 good games, and then it starts to deteriorate with Eddie. And there is a very glaring problem. If you're only going to get 15, 20 minutes in the game, Eddie's got to start getting some goals and getting amongst the action in those 15, 20 minutes at the end of games. Where if we're winning 3-1 or 4-1 or 3-2 or 4-2, he's got to be getting involved in that. Alonso, Eddie and Kedia.
Yeah, I mean, I want Eddie to do well, as a player, as a supporter. I've wanted Eddie to succeed ever since he's brought up to the first team. Ever since he scored against Norwich, those 2 goals. I thought to myself that we have a player here that could really do pretty well. But in my opinion, he hasn't really lived up to the hype of being the star player that we all thought he would be.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some glimpses here and there, but that's been all we ever gotten. I thought that there was an opportunity there for him to take over for Jesus's starting position, and he didn't take it. And that's the problem I have with Eddie, is that he's not willing to take that next step when we needed him to have been. And he misses a lot of chances as well.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do appreciate about him is that he doesn't go to ground like Jesus does all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't complain about the referees either, like Jesus does. So, I just wish that his streak of games being played would have been could have been more had he been scoring more. And I think he lost that opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, no, just I mean,
He's
just you say
faded
that
after
you
those.
you say that, but the 7-game stretch where Trossard started, he started the first one, didn't start the next two, and then had an ankle injury. So he probably, you know what? When I look at that, I can only assume he had the ankle injury in the 2 games where he didn't start.
And
And
at the
I'm
time,
like,
Gary, we
yeah.
were playing a lot of games. We were playing a lot of games close together, and he was the only recognized striker, and he had
No,
to
what I'm
play
saying is that
90
he
minutes.
played like like you said, like I said, that the man. Let's see, that Aston Villa game we won 2-4. He started
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Then he played. Then he didn't start the next 2 matches.
Okay. His
And
Trossard
then he
took
had an
over.
ankle injury, and all of
Yeah.
those 7 games is where we won. We won. He had an
Yeah.
ankle injury on the last 4 of them, so he did start, but I think Trossard was playing as well, and things looked different there.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of felt like I don't know what to say for Eddie, but I kind of felt like he's got a number of games he can play for us before you run out. You
You
run out.
see a
Like
dip.
he's got a certain
Yeah.
number of wishes that he can, he
Yeah.
can answer for you, and after they're gone, then they're gone. So
Yeah. He
then he
was
got
really-
then he got injured, so he can't like that. He can't play, for 2 months, right?
the highest point for Eddie was probably because it was a big game, the Man United game. Scoring
Yep.
2 goals,
Yep.
winning 3-2, and that great win at the end of really into the, I think it was very close to the end of the game when he got that winner, and great goal at Brighton and a great goal against West Ham. But as we say, he kind of ran for 5 or 6 games, had a little bit of an injury, and faded as Trossard came into the picture. Martinelli and Saka took over for those 5 or 6 games, and we moved on. And that game against Aston Villa was huge for us after losing to Man City. We went on those seven games winning, and it's just frustrating then when you're looking at the 3 draws and you see the letters there. That's all I got to say about that. BX said Eddie is moving like a kid still while others are growing up and starting families. He's not hungry enough mentally for me.
I don't
That's
know
it.
about I don't know about all of that. I don't know about all that other stuff you're talking about, but the hungry part, I don't like. You just look at the difference between Reece Nelson and Nketiah. Which one is trying to do
Take your
something on
chance.
the pitch, right?
Yeah.
Like Nketiah just looks like he won't just go do it. The coach says, "I want you to do these types." Well, guess what? What happens if their team around you isn't doing their job? Nketiah won't go and do it. He won't go and help himself out, help the team out. Just say, you know what? Let me just go and do this. Forget about it. He won't do it, and that's kind of I think that's a difference. Like Jesus, if he gets frustrated because he's not getting the ball, he'll just go get it. right?
Yeah.
If the ball's not getting to him because we can't get it through the midfield, he'll just go back to midfield and go get it.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
so
we
which is
saw
what
last.
Arteta seems to be okay with because that's how he used Lacazette. I think it opens up the offense some, and it should open up the defense. But a lot of times when he comes up, everybody's assuming he'll get back in the middle, and it's like, no, somebody else get in the middle, because he just came back. Like
Mhm.
those might be the times when either Erdegaard goes out wide or Xhaka would go out wide and push, Martinelli or Saka into the middle, just because he's come back, and you want to get the numbers in your favor again.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a plan, but why not?
Come back and have more control in games. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Jesus playing like that has allowed Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli to have good seasons. I said this to Mahir. I hope Mahir is doing well. I haven't heard from him in a while. Hope Mahir is doing well. Hope you're doing well, brother. I said to him, Jesus will bring lots of numbers to all of the other players around him because he's just that kind of player. He makes everyone. I think he's been really good for Martinelli, and Saka's definitely benefited. Erdegaard's benefited from as well. But we have to recognize if we're going to go forward and win leagues and be in the Champions League and do well, we have to probably have a better option up front, And we've been talking about Gabriel Jesus playing as a winger. It's nothing new to him. He's played there for Manchester City before. And maybe, hopefully, that's something that the club is looking at this summer, bringing in a striker. If we don't have one already that we're going to use, then, get the funds together and bring a striker in. Alonso, Jesus, and Plan B.
Yeah. To me, it's been really frustrating watching him play sometimes. Like I mentioned before, he always goes around as if he's going to take a nap, right? And, he doesn't get up from that. And it's kind of annoying because, there's no, or it's not being caused, but he complains a lot. And I want him to do well, but it seems like when we need him the most, he disappears. And to me, we signed him to get us better, and we have. But I think we depended too much on Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, uh, even Xhaka to an extent to score goals.
Yeah.
And when we needed him the most, he just doesn't do well. And that's the issue for me. And he has a quality. It just he just doesn't do well in tough moments, or he doesn't shine bright when it matters the most. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too critical. But I think we need a new striker that could be more physical without going to ground so fast, and we need someone who's going to be productive also in all areas. And we haven't seen the best out of Jesus in the Arsenal shirt either because he was hurt. But I think he could offer us more than he has had this year.
He definitely has offered us more this year. We've benefited from having Zinchenko come, Gabriel Jesus come, and bring more out of Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard. But Gary, I think we're going to need more moving forward, and I hope it's this summer that something's going to happen in that area. That many have been talking about a plan B or something different, a different look.
I was going to ask: is 6 goals in 10 games good?
Yes.
Really good?
Yes.
Really, really good?
Nope.
It is really good.
I mean, that's what he did. The last 10 games of the season, he scored 6 goals. So,
yeah.
I mean, yes, and we wanted more from him. So, but 6 is really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know how the rest of the team did in those 10 games, but he scored 6 goals in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
The ones where we expected
you score Six
Yeah.
goals every 10 games, you're getting something like 23 goals
Yeah, so I mean, I
in the
think he
season.
did. So he we want him to be perfect like City, but
Mm.
he's just a really good footballer. So like, I think he could score with more than the 6 for sure. That's the same thing. We're gonna say this about all of our attackers. They all could have scored a lot more goals, and in some cases they all should have. But they didn't do a bad. They weren't that bad. It's just that they set a bar, and we needed them to, go a little bit higher.
Now,
Um,
6 goals in 10 games, Gary.
yeah.
Before the World Cup, it was something like 14 games and only 5 goals.
So he came back
So
stronger, right?
come back stronger. Yeah. To
I mean, he
finish
scored.
on
He scored. Let's
11.
see. He scored 5 goals in 9 games, and then he had a slump right before the World Cup where he didn't
Yeah.
have a goal for like the next 5 games. So, he did have 3 assists. But I mean, like I said, I think if he didn't go to the World Cup, and he didn't get injured, who
Yeah.
knows?
Who knows? Right? Who knows what could have been? That was his first season as a starter. He'll get better, especially BX with Arsenal. It's not always where you can take a City player and plug him into Arsenal. It's
Yeah.
not quite always the same thing in terms of
Yeah.
how they're used. But yeah, listen, that's the squad, right? And we kind of know the areas that we need to improve on. Maybe 2 defenders, Kieran Tierney and Rob Holding,
Yeah. Who's
leaving.
up? Who are we talking about next?
Who do you want?
I just need to be able to select them.
I
Transfer.
think we're coming toward the end of it, really.
Yeah.
Trossard, if you wanted to, we could do Trossard
Yeah.
if you're enjoying this.
No, I'm enjoying it. I don't know, Alonso, are you enjoying this?
Are you enjoying the chat about the squad, Alonso?
Well, I just come on, so
So
It-
yes,
it-
he is.
it's been fun. I mean, yeah.
Who else is there other than Trossard then, Gary?
It's just
So-
Saka and
Well, we talked about Saka a little bit, but we could dive a bit deeper into Saka.
yeah. No, if you look
you
at
want.
Trossard, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, he had 11 assists or 10 assists since January.
Yeah, and
I-
look,
I don't know what that is in terms of this. If you look at the seasons, the most assists in the season was what? I mean,
That had been the most assists after the transfer deadline.
yeah. So I mean, I think
yeah, 10.
yeah.
I think Thierry Henry has a record or something, 19 or 20 assists for Arsenal.
So like 10 in 3 months is pretty good, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Trossard could surpass this with Martinelli and Saka outside of him. Erdegaard alongside him, and it's
Yeah.
going to be very critical who's going to be this left 8.
Yeah.
If it's going to be Emile Smith Rowe or Trossard,
Yeah.
how that's going to fit in.
Yeah.
I
De
believe.
Bruyne had 16 assists.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
but
he had 12 total. 'cause
not
he
many
had
goals. I think he had 5 goals.
Yeah.
And you flip that around, Erdegaard's got something like 15 goals. And
No, I know, but I'm just
60.
saying the goals have to come somewhere. If
Yeah.
his assists are creating goals, then just keep doing that,
yeah,
right?
I
I
know.
mean,
there's a
those
certain,
assists. If you would rather have Trossard with 15 goals and Erdegaard with 11 assists.
I don't think we worry about how it happens.
No, that's why I'm saying. So why do
Right.
you care that he
No.
only got the 10 assists or 11 assists?
I'd like him to score more goals because it's going to be like this on Mikel Arteta's shoulder. You need to.
If a player gives you
somebody-
10 assists
The
in 3
players
months,
tapping.
if you think that's a problem, then the leaguer had 6 more.
Yeah,
He didn't even play with you for the whole season.
yeah,
So like I said, I don't like it's relative. I mean, I think he did pretty well not scoring the goals because he did contribute in other ways. Like that's the problem. That's the thing. If Nketiah doesn't give you goals, he gives you nothing. Trossard doesn't give you goals, he's giving you assists. Jesus doesn't give you goals or assists, he still contributes to build in the build up, right? And that's why we scored goals with him still,
Yeah.
while he was struggling, right? So you got to give me something, right?
Yeah.
No matter what
And
you're doing.
And we talk about Zinchenko not showing up in the stats too much, but being key to how we built up from that left back
Yeah,
position.
yeah. When he's
You
not
know,
playing there, then the build-up's not the same, and the
no,
offense doesn't look right, and
doesn't
we
look
wonder
right.
why we don't, or our attack doesn't look right, and it's like,
Kieran Tierney struggled in going inverted. He's better going outside, down the sidelines if he's going to be at the club next season, which is debatable. And Kivior, in my opinion, is not going to master that left back position unless you want an actual
no, the
defender.
fullback. No, he's not. I mean, I know supposedly he can play certain positions, but I don't. Nah, I think
Unless we come up against the winger where we want a dedicated defender, then Kivior could go up against Mo Salah, or could go up against Amares, or could go up against who's playing whoever
yeah.
plays right.
Well, like I said, I think he's a
City
center back
United.
for us, and it's okay if he's a center back for us because he's not a starter who's versatile, so that's
Yeah.
fine. You know.
Do you feel we have the solution for the left eight within the club?
No, because we don't have a player that's healthy enough to take that position.
Okay.
I mean, I think we have players that can play, but Arteta won't do it because he's weird about it. Like you said, Trossard could play that way, Zinchenko could play there,
Emil Smith Rowe.
but he's not healthy. That's like
Like
we'll
next
have to
season.
see. Like I said, we'll see if he's
Mm.
back, like part of the squad.
Yeah.
But we have answers there, and I think it would have been nice to have seen a starting lineup where you had Trossard and Erdegaard playing next to each other
Trossard and
with
Erdegaard.
Jesus
Yeah.
and
That would be
Jesus
nice.
and
That would be high octane.
and that's kind of what we
Trossard
need to be able to just
and
ram it down
Erdegaard.
your throat. That's how it looked when we played Bournemouth. Or
Yes.
sorry, it's Bournemouth, right? And
Yeah.
we just said, you know what, screw it.
Fabio
All
Vieira.
the attackers get out there and see if they can stop us. It's like
Yeah.
they can't.
Can you imagine Trossard playing in that left position and having a long range shot? I think he could be pretty good there. Kivior is like an Ivanovic for me, says BX. Alonso, Trossard left 8, Emil Smith Rowe left 8.
So what I have him also throw back there.
Fabio Vieira.
I think he's stronger. I think Vieira is just he doesn't quite understand the English way of football. He's just a bit fragile right now. I didn't see him grasp the moment. He got tore up against who did we play that he didn't have a great game in? Do you guys remember the game?
Kirior?
No, it was Vieira he didn't have a great game.
Fabio Vieira, Southampton.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry.
Horrible.
well, there's quite a few of them there too, right? But it's just like he didn't really know what to do. He looked confused, looked lost out there. Honestly, I would prefer a Smith Rowe when healthy. But then you're saying, well, he's gonna get hurt. He's like a ticking, not time bomb, but he's like a dead man walking out there. If he gets hurt, so
Yeah.
I think Gary, like you were saying, Trossard is the most feasible option. I just want to play offensively. Yeah.
BX is still pushing for Trossard in that right 8 position where Erdegaard plays. I think they could play perfectly alongside each other in my opinion.
But then if you're gonna say, let me get the best out, like if KDB can sit, then Erdegaard can sit. If you have a Trossard there,
Yeah.
so why not?
Trossard could be the backup, could be the rotational player for Erdegaard. Okay. Declan Rice and Caicedo. Two players that would
Yes, please.
two players that would instantly boost the quality within the squad.
Yeah.
Push some of those players further down the bench. And the way we're probably thinking about both players is Caicedo could play in that right back, that inverted right back position. And Declan Rice could play at midfield. That's the thinking right now. Um, the talk of Declan Rice going to Bayern for me is just a story. I don't think Bayern's going to pay that amount of money, and I think Declan Rice, Edu can't really fumble this one, right? As long as we pay up what West Ham are going to want for Declan Rice. Everything, all of the boxes are ticked off.
Yeah, I mean, I think we, like I said, if they don't want to spend the money that it's going to take for a Rice, then Casado has to be done. It needs to be done. He needs to just be brought in. So I think it's what they it's like what are they going to do? Rice gives you exactly what you need. It gives you the leadership. It gives you, solidify your midfield.
Yeah.
He is a captain.
Leader, captain.
I know you don't. He probably won't take the armband, but he's a leader for West Ham, and he potentially will be the leader for England at some point. So
yep.
I don't know. That's what we need. So like they need to spend the money. The sooner the better. Like he gets his trophy or he doesn't get his trophy. And as I say, he empties out his locker and just drives over to London Colney, and the rest is history. You know what I mean? That's how that thing should work for me.
I think talking about the armband a little bit. I think one of the speculation is that he ought to be a vice captain for Arsenal because Xhaka's already out the door, right? So I think that's one of the things that has to happen is that he has to be vice captain, quote unquote. In order for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I think Erdegaard's going to be the captain next season.
Right, but vice captain though to take Xhaka's place.
I think there has to be situations in this coming season where Erdegaard doesn't play every game, just like with Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, and a lot of other players, even William Saliba. But Declan Rice, everything is there for us to make it happen. We're probably going to pay the money. We should pay the money. We will pay the money. We're a London club, and he wants to stay in London. And we are lucky enough that right now we're a better team than Chelsea. Because if Chelsea were in the top four, Declan Rice would probably be thinking about Chelsea more than Arsenal. We have a couple of players in the England squad that Declan Rice enjoys being around, Bukayo Saka, Ramsdale, and White. And that's kind of important. And I'm even seeing memes of Zinchenko when they played the friendly with England asking Rice, "You're coming, right? You're coming." And that was a few months back. You know what I mean? But Edu is definitely going to feel the pressure, and it's got to be Alonso. It's got to be where these are our first choices: Declan Rice and Caicedo, and our first choices have to land this time.
Yeah, because we all know in the past how Edu has fumbled a lot of the time that he just messes around, and then somebody else signs his players that we've been targeting since like 2016, right? So I mean, he's got to learn his lesson either way because the Cronkies, aka Josh, have really invested the money. So it's you can't no longer blame the owners, right? You got to now realize that Edu is being paid to do this kind of things. And it's not like all he's done is bad, but whenever you can't recruit and you let your targets be known to the whole entire world who we're looking to sign, and we don't sign them because he just continues to mess up and, not pay or not come through what he has to do to make it happen. And it's a worrisome moment for I think all of us to recognize because it's happened far too often, and the deal's not done.
Yeah, The deal's not done yet. Gary, we have to maintain and improve what we did last season. 84 points. We have to improve on that. And that's going to be fine margins. And it's going to take top quality players. And it's going to take the quality of a midfield upgrade of a Rice and a Caicedo to come in. I've mentioned all of the positive things that the Rice deal seems to be in our favor. We also have a good relationship, or should still have a good relationship, with Brighton for Caicedo. And so really the pressure, if Edu's under pressure, this is the season this is the window he's gonna be under pressure to get these things across.
Yeah.
And we Caicedo should be looking at Arsenal as one of the destinations that he wants to go to. He could go to Chelsea, but would he be going there for sporting reasons? Probably not right now.
Yeah. No, this is when we looked at the window. That's the thing, is a January window. Kind of gave it a grade.
Yeah.
First targets basically fail. Second targets got him. Right, got it right.
Mm-hmm.
We got to switch that around. We got like Lonzo said, we have to get our first targets. These are those are the players that are going to answer your. You pose some questions out there, and these players are going to answer it. Once again, it sounds like we're doing it again. Rice, Caicedo are going to answer some questions for us, and as you say, if Caicedo can play right back, then then Tomiyasu's time is done.
Mm-hmm.
And because Caicedo can start in both in the midfield and on right back, right? If you needed him to. Maybe even for Saka or next to Jorginho or something like that, he could do that if needed, right?
Yeah.
I think the problem I have, not a problem, but the issue I see with that is will Arteta like to play with that style, right? He plays a little bit on the edge.
Caicedo?
Yeah. He's a little aggressive in his play, which I think is what we need sometimes, because when we get punched in the mouth in games, it's in the midfield, and he would be a guy that has an answer for that.
You said it even yourself, that in a Brighton shirt you get away with a tackle, like the Martinelli tackle, but in an Arsenal shirt, is it going to be different?
Yeah, that's the thing we don't know. But if Arteta just tones it down a little bit, so instead of a 10, it's a 9, and he doesn't even put that challenge in, because why did he put that challenge in on Martinelli?
To look after his buddy Mitoma.
Yeah, but I mean,
you got revenge.
That didn't happen. That wasn't Martinelli, was it?
Yeah,
it was Martinelli that put the
Martinelli went went for the header and hit Mitoma.
He went for it wasn't like malicious.
No, it wasn't malicious, but it was maybe a little bit over the top. It could have been seen as that.
Okay.
Challenging for a header, Martinelli. And he did it in the Southampton game as well, Martinelli did. So I don't think he has that badness in him, that intent to injure someone.
Yeah, and that is
competing for the ball.
But is that's kind of what Xhaka would do, and that's why he would get these silly yellow cards, is because he play a little reckless and a little bit out of control.
We don't want Martinelli getting that, getting that stigma, getting that stench. You think Martinelli's going to get the Xhaka stench about him? You know what I mean? We don't know. But listen, here's the thing with Arsenal. When we pivoted to our second and third choices, we got them very quickly. Trossard was done.
Yeah, but we need. But you know what? If
Jorginho was
I don't
done.
know. We don't know if Mudryk and Caicedo were their the first 2 targets, or if they pivoted after, Mudryk didn't work and they went to Caicedo.
It seems that it was like that.
So and the fact that they had 2 players behind those 2 players that answered the same question. It's like
Caicedo was that one we chased, and then we went for Jorginho, and Mudryk was that player, and then we went for
it would have been so. For example, say it would have been nice to get Caicedo and then Trossard.
Yeah,
And I would like to see how our season would finish
sure.
out because I think Mudryk.
But that would have been two Brighton
Mudryk.
players.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of what we needed to do.
But they probably wouldn't. They were not willing to
Yeah.
let Caicedo go.
Yeah.
I think that's the real crux of
I
it.
mean, in reality, it would have been nice to have gotten one of the two.
Hell or high water would not have gotten us Caicedo. They were not willing to deal, and
True.
maybe we soured it. We made the milk sour a little bit, but hopefully our relationship is still there with Brighton that we can go get Caicedo.
It sounds like he's available.
Yes.
So
Now-
like, that's different. That's different kind of discussions than we had in January, where it's like he's not
Yes.
for sale.
He's available now.
Now
for-
they're saying they're players, expecting players to go, right?
Yep,
So and the two main players would be McAllister
Some-
and Caicedo.
So many Arsenal fans want us to go get Caicedo now, but I think Rice is the number one on the list.
I say I don't. You want both?
Yeah, but
It shouldn't matter.
yeah, it shouldn't matter. Yeah, I
Because
agree.
I mean, because
Um,
you're gonna like the number. You're talking different numbers. You're not talking like if here you go. If you only got those two players, is that a bad window?
I'd still like a.
No, that's not a
central
question. That's not a question.
It's not a bad window. No, it's a great window. If you
That's
just
what I
get
mean.
that
So
through.
if it's not a bad window, then can you solidify?
Well,
your
you got to
midfield?
tell me we needed 10 players.
I always tell you that until we get there, and that's why if we need that number of players, how in the world we're not going to do it in one window,
Hmm.
right? The only
No,
way we're going to
I
the only way
I will tell
those
you that.
things are going to work in this window is if
Yeah.
Emil Smith-Rowe is healthy, Nelson gets the playing time, right?
Mhm.
And one of the was an academy player comes out of nowhere. They keep Balogun,
Yeah.
right?
I think we
They
need
bring in
4
the
or
two
5
players. That's 6 players I just named there, and guess what? You only got to buy 2.
But you got to replace the ones that are leaving as well.
No. But I'm saying if Emil Smith-Rowe and Nelson, if they get the time and they're
Yeah.
healthy,
Yeah.
they will get the minutes.
They can be more prominent. You know,
Right.
I
And
think
then
Nelson could be our
Yeah.
Minamino, could
And
be
if
our
Balogun is staying, or you're selling him and you get another player, that's your third. That's that's another player for your
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah.
And then if you get the 2 midfielders, that's right now that would be 5 players introduced back that would be in the squad actually contributing, not just getting a shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
exactly.
we still need another 2, but if you're selling Balogun, right, you're going to get a player in there. If you're selling Tierney, you're going to get another player in there. I mean, you've got,
It's going to be interesting what the club does. I don't think, for me, I wouldn't be selling Balogun. I would bring him back, but it seems like he's intent. Maybe we'll see what happens.
I think they're taking it the wrong way. He wants to play. He doesn't want to sit like Nketiah.
If Balogun stays, that's another one. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he wants to play like Nketiah. He wants to be able to say, "I'm going to deceive you, Jesus."
Mhm.
And I think that's more. It's not. It might be some blind arrogance because he's a young kid.
Yeah.
But he just scored 20 goals in Liga, and Arsenal's looking at a player who scored 17 in Liga. What? 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 Your own player scored more than the player you're willing to go
And-
spend money on. What? Make it make sense.
I also don't think it's a farmers league because Saliba has been our best player this season, and he had 2 seasons in the supposed farmers league as well.
Mbappe is supposed to be one of the best players in the world.
Yeah,
And he plays
yeah.
there.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up in a couple minutes, but really quick word about preseason. I think we are going to go back to Germany in the early weeks of July. It looks like the timing of the early weeks of July. We're going to be back in Germany. We'll probably play. I don't know anything, but I'm just guessing. We're going to probably play Nuremberg again, or a German side. Nothing's been set up yet, but if you're going to have a camp in Germany, Alonso, before you come to the US, you're probably going to play a game against a German side as your first game of preseason.
Yeah, I prefer them play these nuts.
These
FC.
nuts FC.
Yeah, man.
And that actually sounds a little bit German as well.
It does actually, yeah.
And then we're going to come back to the US. There's going to be an MLS game. There's going to be a game against United. The MLS game, I think, will be Washington. The game against United will be in New York. And I think they're going to go to the SoFi Stadium as well to play Barcelona.
They have to. I mean, he spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
I mean, as I say, Stan spent a lot of money on a stadium, and it's not necessarily just for the sport it's built for. It's to bring in all the other sports and make money off of it.
And there's a cup. Is the Nuggets Stadium there in that complex?
It's in Denver.
Oh, it's in Denver. Different area. Okay.
Different state.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what's going to happen, And Gary, we get off to a good start again. Preseason, we go again. We bring players in.
Yeah, like we will next week, right? Next week or in June, I think. Is it next Monday? By next Monday, West Ham would have won or not.
Yes. By next week, we'll know if Declan Rice has won a trophy with his previous club, West Ham United. You know what I mean?
Definitely former club. Definitely.
Previous club, and it's gonna be a madness. And I'm pretty highly confident that Declan Rice will be an Arsenal player, but by the end of the window, I think he'll drag on.
I don't see. That's the thing. The end of the window is bad.
Yeah,
it's a waste.
I'm being very conservative. I'm being very
but that's just really bad. If we're doing that, then we're doing him a disservice. We're doing our players a disservice.
Yeah.
If you can bring Jesus in before you go on your first or second trip, then Rice has to work the exact same way. Yeah. Right. You bring in your top players early in the summer so they can actually play. You can't bring him. You can't bring your best player in at the end of the window. Nobody who's doing that. It doesn't. It's
I am very confident that won't happen because Arteta has been trying to get players in sooner and earlier in the windows.
Yeah. Because you can't make the excuse that they didn't get enough time. No. You know if that's your excuse, then you fix it the next time and do better, right?
If football is going back to up front, BX Gunner, you'll be happy. Stan will be happy if Jesus and Balogun play together, but we haven't seen that a whole lot. Anyway, we're going to wind it up there, Alonso. Thanks for joining us. Any final words to say, Alonso?
Yeah, like Gary said, this is a point of the season where we can't really mess around and wait to deadline day to make these moves because whoever's in the contest is going to be a high profile move or moves rather. I think we all could all agree on that. These moves has to be made in the coming weeks because other than that, teams are going to know who we are looking for. So I do have to hurry up and make these deals happen as soon as possible. Because then we'll lose out like we have in the past previous transfer markets. And I hope that Balogun does stay and prove that he can play in this league.
He's actually been called up to the U.S., Alonso. He got his first call up.
Yeah, I know, and it's exciting because unfortunately USA hasn't had really a great striker in a very long time. It's even because it shows that he could get minutes here. It shows that he sees the future is bright as well.
Yeah,
he knows he could become a star, and it's exciting, but it'd be cool if he just stayed at Arsenal and bring more American fans who are new to the sport to help Arsenal and the United States and realize that he could be bigger than he could be the best striker we ever had as far as the country goes.
Mm-hmm.
And that can only happen if he gets playing time in Arsenal.
Yeah, he's going to go into the CONCACAF Nations League. I guess that's next Thursday, 2 weeks from now. So we'll see what happens. Maybe his price tag will be boosted as well by winning some games with the U.S. men's national team. Thanks, Alonso, for joining. Gary, final words for you.
Yeah, no.
Tony's not here, so he didn't
ABCs,
get
man,
that.
always be closing. Let's close this thing. Let's close these deals as soon as. Like I said, if we're at the end of June and we still don't have Rice or Casado, either or both, then I think we're just I think that's those players need to go out on tour is what I
End
mean
of
by
June.
that.
Okay.
They need to go on the tour.
Yeah.
You saw what Jesus brought when he came on tour. He'll be revving to go.
We got
Rice if he comes. So
just some dates for you. We got Gabriel Jesus on the 4th of July, I believe, a few days before the German camp started. And we got Zinchenko the 23rd of July, 22nd, 23rd.
yeah. Like I
Those
said,
will be
I
similar dates.
like this like if they're playing like if I have a ticket to go see them play against Manchester United, if he's on there, which mean for me he's already been practicing for a couple weeks. That'd be really good.
Be nice to see Declan
Because
Rice.
they sign him I want him signed and then go on vacation. I don't want him going on vacation and then coming and then trying to sign while they're on vacation. That's silly. If you want the player, just get the player before he has to go. Let him go do his business with his family and not
Yeah.
have to deal with that stuff,
Yeah.
right? Because that we always hear like they go and travel on vacation, and then we're trying to send. What, you're going to send them away from their vacation? Nah, just do the business right away and move on. Let the
He'd
guy
be
go
like-
have his vacation in peace.
He'd be like, "Yeah, talk to my agent, talk to my people. I've told them what I want. All right, we shall leave it there. Okay. All right, we shall see you at the weekend. Hopefully, Gary, you up on Saturday doing something Saturday or not?
Yeah, it is the off season. I did say I'll be off and on, but
Off-season.
I probably will be because there is a game, right? There's a game.
There is the FA Cup final.
There's a game.
you
So
know. And our preseason will be determined, Alonso, by this FA Cup final.
that
We
is
could
true.
be playing City in the Charity Shield.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
So if that game's at 10 o'clock, so yeah, that would be perfect. So I might actually do. I'm probably going to watch the game anyway. So if nothing family wise comes up, I probably will have the road trip will be on, and we'll be
Yep.
chatting about seeing if how do you guys feel about City and the treble?
I don't want them to do it. Here's how
Why
I feel.
why don't you want them to do it?
City or cheats, City or cheats, City or cheats, and all of the football world needs to unite behind that and protest against what Manchester City are doing, because they have a huge squad of players that are super inflated by wages, and they have not been following the rules. They've been hiding the cash flow. All about the charges. So we have to stop tribalism. Tribalism has to stop. And for me, I'll be shouting for Man United, because you know what? They have.
I'm not cheering. I'll never ever cheer for another team, no matter what. Probably, like there's two sides to this, because you're going to first tell me that Manchester United was probably one of your outside of that team is your next rival that you want to see suffer.
Yeah.
So if they'll suffer if City wins the treble.
But can we now say, Gary, if we're going to be fighting with City the next 2-3 seasons, can't we now say that we hate City more?
Or they can get it out of their system and get the 3 wins this year, and the next season they'll collapse like Liverpool did.
I would like Inter Milan to win as well. So either way it happens, BX, I do not want that treble to happen. Because they're going to.
But you're okay with United with a treble.
No, that happened. I wasn't okay with it.
But I'm saying but I mean that's why some people are like, well, I don't care either way because both
Well, here's the difference.
both don't make me feel good either way. You know what I
No,
mean?
well, here's the difference. One did it by the rules, and the other isn't going to do it by the rules.
Unless they actually get fined and suspended and points deducted for it. None. Until I see it, it's almost like until the player puts on the shirt, it didn't happen, right? Until if they do their job, yes, they should probably. If they've broken the rules, they should lose
And
points.
here's
Well, nobody believes that that's ever going to happen. So
nobody believes, but the allegations are there to be proved true. But the allegations are nevertheless there, and the media talk about this great Manchester City team. You know, Akanji, 17 million. What's he getting paid? You have to look at the wages. You have to look at the whole package, and he's probably getting paid 200. They're all getting 200,000 a week and more. Haaland's getting 500, 900,000 a week, whatever it is.
no.
It's ludicrous money.
But in the same breath, Newcastle just signed on with similar owners.
Yeah.
So the problem is just like
I very much doubt if Newcastle are going to act
if it was a serious problem, it should have been fixed yesterday.
Yeah.
Not you know what I mean? And they don't want to fix it.
And the UK government has to act on it and have some oversight on the Premier League.
It's hurting. Once again, it's hurting their game. I said this before, like years ago. Like you bring in foreign ownership, you take away the the history of
the game
of the league that you're in,
and
you're okay with it, and because they don't care about the history, right?
No, but they'll hold up Luton Town, which is a wonderful old. People might not like the area, right? But it's a wonderful old stadium. We've seen the pictures of the walkway where you go into the back. The away supporters go into the back of the stand while they're overlooking people's back gardens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a great story. But the Premier League will milk that story.
Premier League should give them whatever money they need to get up to the whatever standards they want.
Yeah.
I don't agree with this whole the team has to spend the money. They qualified for it. You pay for it. It's not that much money for them.
And I get what you're saying, BX Governor. You have no love for Manchester United, but we have to recognize there's another player in town, and they're not playing by the rules.
Yeah, but they're already coming. They're gonna have to take away, whatever their last five trophies for it to mean anything. Because they all come under the same umbrella, probably, right?
So if it takes 4 years, we'll celebrate winning the league.
But nobody's gonna enjoy it. So no, it's not gonna.
We'll celebrate in 4 years from now, Gary, that we won the league.
Yeah.
We won the league in 2023.
I don't understand the whole. Why does it take 4 years? You spent like
lawyers.
You spent years. Well, that is the leagues or whoever in charge basically letting it drag on. So until it like dissipates and we forget about it.
It happens in real life.
You just got to take one charge and tell me you didn't do that one.
Yeah.
If they can't prove that one wrong, just give me the next one.
And they got 150.
And that won't take 4 years for one trial.
I don't know. Right. You know what's wrong with that, Gary? You're speaking too much sense. That's what's wrong with that statement.
155 is easy to drag it out, but just the one, right?
Yeah.
Pick the most like in your face. Look, this is what they did, and if you can back it up with all the rules of the game and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do it. If you're not, then we didn't need to know. It's one of those things where you don't want to know how the sausage was made, because then you feel sick. Like this is like we already like they're showing us how this thing works. They're gonna up front say they're gonna punish them, and in reality they don't care.
There's no way that this can be brushed under the carpet. There's no way that this can be swept away. So however long it takes, something's gonna happen. Something's got to give. And if it's a 10 points deduction, we'll take it. If it means us winning the league this season, we'll take it. and the record Bucks striking cities achievements over this time. The Juventus got deducted points. We're in pot 2. We'll talk about that maybe on Sunday. I might even bring that show a little bit forward as well because I'm going to be busy on Sunday, but we'll see what happens anyway. Gary, on the trip.
The road trip will be on.
The road trip
Will be on 11. I guess that's 4 p.m.
11.
You guys in the
Okay.
UK. So.
All right. We'll leave it there.
Greg,
Yep.
I have a question. So,
Sure.
we mean by forward, you mean after the NASCAR race, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. What NASCAR race?
NASCAR. What's NASCAR?
Yeah, what is that? What is that?
Like maybe 1 p.m. Eastern, bring it forward an hour or a little bit like that. You know what I mean? That's what I mean.
Right. I'll be on. I'm off that day, so I'll just put the volume down the race.
Hopefully you can make it too, Gary. We're going to talk about the fun moments of the season as well. We're gonna we talked about the squad here. We'll talk about the fun moments of the season.
Mhm.
All of the funny things. Tuchel and Conte still holding hands because they never let go of that clasp. That clasp. Okay. Take care, everyone. We're out of here.
Yeah.
And we'll see you at the weekend on the trip or on the circle. Take care, everyone.